Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2015 California Water Ski Pro-Am here at Belle Aqua Lakes. My name is Freddie Kruger. I'm joined by Trent Finlayson, and we are going to take you through the men's slalom final. We've got a bracket of 8 men. It'll be a head-to-head challenge, and we're going to take you through the running order and kind of give you a quick recap of how we got to where we are from yesterday's event. But Trent, thanks for being here. And what are you feeling today?
We have, like you said, how did we get here? Well, we started with 30 competitors.
The boats are coming out.
Everyone skied twice. Top 8 cumulative scores came through, and with the conditions as they were yesterday, it actually took an average of 1.5 at 41 just to make it to today.
Right.
And what was crazy is that left some skiers with an average of 1.5 at 41 looking from the outside because their top score wasn't as high as some of the other top scores, even though they still had a 1.5 average.
And Chris Parrish, being that 8th skier in, was he was the top 1.5 average, if you will, that made it into the finals because he had that score of a 2.5 as his top score. And I know that Adam Settlemeyer was the first one out, had a 2 and a 1, had the same average, but unfortunately Chris had the higher best round score. So Chris made it in. A little bit of an unusual situation here to have Chris coming in that 8th spot. So we're going to see him out a little earlier. He's going to go against our number 1 seed, Nate Smith, who, as we would expect, showed up and ran through the 41, came in at the world record rope length, was the only one really to get past 3 ball at 41 yesterday. Seems to be on form.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. He in the second round he returned to typical Nate Smith. Finding his way through the whole pass, and usually this first matchup, while they're all competitive, usually it's a little more lopsided than this. But we have the current world record holder Nate Smith, starting his day facing the former world record holder and the most recent world record holder before Nate in Chris Parrish.
Yeah, so this first grouping will be the battle of the world record holders, and then we're going to our second grouping will be Freddie Winter from England going against our Czech skier Daniel Edvarko, who is Daniel. Both of these guys really in the last 12 months have stepped up and taken their skiing to a new level. And so, again, a tough pairing for these two guys. They've been neck and neck. And I think it's worth mentioning, other than Nate's full pass at 41 yesterday, every one of these skiers, for the most part, ran between 2 and 2.5 at 41. We're going to have 7 skiers that literally piled on top of themselves. And if we go look back at Nate's first round, he ran, 2.5 at 41. So the competition is tight all the way through, and so it's going to be kind of, as you said, sometimes maybe we expect the first or second pairing to be a little lopsided. I just don't think we're going to see that this week, and it's going to be a barn burner from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, every single one of these guys ran at least 2 at 41. I believe the only two twos I think we had was Corey Vaughn yesterday, who proved to be really consistent.
And Joel
Howley.
Yeah. So let's talk strategy a little bit here. We're going to have 2 boats. It's head-to-head. So to lay this out for our Sacramento crowd and our spectators who are watching on the webcast around the world, essentially what's going to happen is we're going to bring 2 gentlemen out. They'll start at the same rope length, and the first guy will run his first pass. He'll sit down at the far end. The second gentleman will then have to complete that pass. Whenever the first skier misses, whatever that score is, the second skier has to beat them. Okay, if they tie, the advantage goes to the first skier. How is that decided? Well, there's 2 options here. We have 2 boats, 2 drivers. The top-seeded skier, so in our first pairing, we've got Nate Smith and Chris Parrish. Nate is going to have the choice whether he wants to choose to go out first and have that, what we call a quarter buoy advantage, and make Parrish have to beat him, or he can choose a boat/driver, whichever is more important to him. So he's going to make a choice, then Parrish gets the other option. So if Nate chooses, hey, I'm going to go out first, Parrish gets to choose which boat he wants to ski behind, and they're going to come out. Now, yesterday there was some talk that some of the guys felt more comfortable behind the red boat, red driver, although Nate Smith comes out, runs the 41, gets into 43 behind the yellow boat. So he kind of squashed that. So it's always interesting to me when that part of the strategy comes out. I kind of wish we could be down there on the dock with them, poking and prodding, kind of finding that out. But we do know that as I watched the women's event, the bigger decision was going first or second and taking that quarter buoy advantage.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. There was, through the first half of the day, there was definite talk of one boat felt stronger than the other, one boat felt easier than the other. But like you say, Nate, in running 41 behind the boat that no one was particularly liking, he probably took the edge off any concerns people were having about boats.
Absolutely, and here we go. We have Nate Smith on the water, coming in at 32 off, 13 meters, behind the yellow boat. And we're going to get a chance to get this started. And this young man, for those who are not that familiar with him, came on the scene probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Was really the first time we saw him at some pro events, and he has literally lit the men's slalom skiing field on fire. And he has not only has he broken some world records and won numerous events, really probably won more events than he's lost. He's clicking along at over a 50% win rate, I would have to imagine. But he's literally pulled the entire men's slalom field, their performances up with him. I think everybody he broke through that barrier and gave everybody else the confidence that, hey, if he can do it, we can do it too. And I mean, we are just seeing amazing scores now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that, as a pro slalom skier myself, I can attest to, what Nate Smith has done for the sport. When you watch someone go out and run 41 with a level of calm and a level of confidence that just didn't exist 5 years ago, that put the rest of us understanding that this wasn't necessarily a 2 or a 3 buoy course for us anymore at 41.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Everyone's scores have just been creeping up because of this we're going to say this Nate Smith phenomenon.
We're literally at a point where a couple years ago, 2 or 3 buoys at 41 would be a score to win this event, and now it's taking 2 or 3 buoys just to make it into this final 8 bracket. So here we are, Chris the Tower Parrish coming in at 32 off. He's got to complete this pass. Whatever Nate scores, Parrish has to beat him by at least a quarter of buoy. So when we get to that point, we'll explain it through a little bit more. But I had an opportunity to talk with Chris today. He is, he's had an injury. I believe it's his right shoulder.
Yep.
He's had kind of a pinched nerve in there, which as you can imagine, having to take the loads up to 900 pounds of pressure behind the boat, release those loads, and then come off and reach with that handle. If you've got a little pinch or nerve that's bothering you in there, it's gonna affect your ability to make it through the slalom course. But as I talked with him, I was pleasantly surprised at how happy, how confident he was, and how well he's been skiing. But not only that, his attitude in terms of, yes, I had an injury, but we've got more tournaments here late in the year that they don't normally have. Diablo typically is one of the last tournaments for you guys, and yet we still have the U.S. Open to come in October, the World Championships in November, and Chris really feels like he is just building up into those events, and is when I talked to him today, he wasn't bummed about coming out as the 8th seed. He feels like he's got something to prove here and feels like he can give Nate a run.
Yeah, it's been an interesting season for him for sure. He finished last season ranked number 1 in the world. He ran 2 at 43 off twice, edging out Nate Smith on the world ranking list. So having to sit out the majority of this season, I'm sure it's been tough for him. But like you say, we have a lot of season left ahead of us.
So here's Nate, 35 off. These first couple of passes, and you will, for our folks at home, in this first 4 matchups in the head-to-head challenge, we're going to talk about the starting line lengths of being 32 off, and in the rounds after this, they'll actually make the guys start shorter at the 35 off length.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And so we're for our local Sacramento viewers who maybe aren't aware of what we're talking about, it's a little bit of slalom lingo. So the guys today, they start at 32 off.
Right.
And it's kind of an archaic way of explaining what's really going on, but it's simply put, a standard slalom rope is 75 feet long.
Right.
So these guys are starting with 32 feet taken away from that standard 75 foot. So it's kind of an inverted way of saying what's really happening. But you can kind of just keep in mind the first pass is 32 off, the second pass is 35 off, and 35 off is the last pass where the handle can reach the buoy.
Right.
After
and
that,
once you, and at 35 off, we always talk about the fact that the handle will actually reach outside the buoy line still, but that's only if they're perfectly up perpendicular with the boat. And as you watch these guys, you'll see them lay out and make that reach, because at these longer line lengths, they're not able to get all the way up perpendicular to the pylon. So you see Chris reach out there and pull that handle back in, and that's going to give him the ability to get outside that buoy, keep coming back in. Nice, easy pass here. And this next pass will be what we, in old money language, we call it 38 off, or it's the 11.25 meter line, meaning it's there's 11.25 meters of rope. And if you think of it, the slalom course, from the center of the course out to the buoy is 11.5 meters. So as you mentioned, we're going to see our first situation where we're a quarter of a meter short, roughly a foot, short of reaching the buoy line. So now these guys are really getting into where any little bobble can cause a problem. But I mean, honestly, these guys, best in the world. We expect, really honestly, we expect all 8 of these guys to run right through this 38 off. At 39, we're going to be sitting a little more on the edge of our seats. And, the 41 is really where we kind of expect the separation to come.
Yeah, for sure. So, we said we started yesterday with roughly 30 athletes. They all skied 2 rounds each. Out of all, so we'll say 60 pulls, 138 off is missed.
Right.
So that's, the level of skiing we're dealing with right now. And, this is the first pass that, while it's routine, this is the first pass where things can get out of hand really quickly.
Yeah. So here we go. Nate Smith, 38 off, 11.25 meters of rope. Keeping in mind it's 11.5 meters out from the pylon out to the buoy. So he can't get the handle to reach the buoy anymore, and he's making that up with the swing right here as his ski moves out. He reaches out. Nice. Again, where Nate has really shown the world of slalom skiing what can be its efficiency. We're talking about one of the guys. He's not really one of the tallest guys, a little over 6 foot. I'm assuming he's not a giant by any means, but he's thin, he's lean, probably 155, 160 pound young man, but strong, very strong in his technique by being very balanced on his skis. You're going to see Nate is almost always, it's his feet, his knees are right over his feet, his hips are right over his knees, his shoulders are right over his hip, and his head's right on top. So many of the other guys, if we, for those of us who are a little older, kind of the old school philosophy was you wanted your feet out in front of you just a little bit because you were going to hit bigger wakes, and skis weren't quite as fast. And we're seeing these new generation of technological skis and the boats and the cruise control, and this is the future, and that's what these pros are having to get accustomed to.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's a level of calm and just like you said, a level of efficiency that really separates Nate from the rest. You see Chris Parrish coming in, so he too is going to have to get through this entire 38 off pass.
I think with Chris, he is, yesterday talking with John Horton as we were watching Chris ski, he said that Chris is somebody that for your local skier, if you're going to give somebody to watch, say, hey, go find a video. Giving somebody a video of Nate Smith to watch can almost lead him down the wrong path. Like you look at things and it just doesn't look like he's working very hard, or because Nate does things a little different. Whereas Parrish has a little more of a traditional style that might be more beneficial to, say, somebody learning to run the course or 22 off or 28 off. But it's interesting when I talk to Parrish, his mentality, his thought process about it, when I talk to him and I talk to Nate, at the end of the day, their fundamentals, what they're trying to accomplish, they're both going down the same path. They're just getting there slightly different ways. And I think where Parrish tends to get in trouble, if he's going to have trouble, is he'll get deep out of one, he'll lose his direction into two, he'll get a little bit slow, a little bit narrow, and when you start to see that arm, that free arm come way up over the top, it breaks the hips behind him, and the ski gets behind him a little bit. And then once that happens, he's not getting true acceleration across the lake to get early for the next buoy. So we'll be watching for that here at his 39. Okay, Nate Smith, 39 off. Nice one ball. So tight and smooth. For you at home, it may be hard to tell the difference between that pass and the first pass that he ran. And trust me, for those of us sitting on the side of the lake, we're saying the same thing. It literally looks like they're forgetting to shorten the rope on him, and then goes back to just the efficiency. But there's just I've just never seen somebody that doesn't get rattled.
No, it's impeccable timing. It doesn't matter where he is in the course. He's always going to wait for the boat to pick him up first. He's never going to make a move that's going to increase the pressure on the line or give him more on his plate than he needs to deal with. His timing's incredible, and it's that level of calm that he takes through 39 that's really, really changed the game.
Well, and as we talk about that level of calm, as we think the skier who's run 39 and a half off over the years with that similar level of calm is the man he's going against right now. Probably more than anybody in the history of sport. Chris Parrish was the first one that showed us, hey, you can run 39 and not stress out about it. I think what Parrish is now dealing with is when he gets to 41, can he keep that calm, whereas Nate is able to. Nate just never seems to stress about it. But we expect to see Chris keep his calm, keep his cool, and run this pass. Nice one. Nice two. On time, getting that. We're seeing that outside arm nice and controlled.
Looks like we're going to see some 41 off next.
Not quite as tight there at the finish of the course, but
yep. I mean, it's not Nate's approach, but that's classic Parrish right there.
Well,
that's what's he's based his career around.
Yeah, and if you watch how tight he is here in the replay, on how tight he is on one, how tight he is on two, and at this point in time right now, I think he's just saying, okay, let's manage the course. I'm still way ahead, but there's no reason to try and slam around four and take a chance at falling. So by the time he gets to six, we see him not as early as he might have was say at two ball. So he's losing a little bit as he goes down the course, which isn't necessarily what you want to see, but it's a good veteran move to make sure you're now in the pass that matters.
That's exactly it, and that's sort of like a great gate. A really good start to the course. That's the cornerstone of Parrish's career. He has an unbelievably high, fast gait. He's always early at one, always early at two. And then, like you say, course management. He's one of the best there is at it.
Now, one thing we haven't talked about is our two athletes here are what we call different feet forward. Nate being a right foot forward skier, Parrish being a left foot forward, which means their onside turns are on different sides. Nate, amazing one ball. Wow, tied at two. Folks, this is probably going to go down here, quite honestly. I'll be surprised at this point in time if he lets this get away. And there it is.
And that's why we're here. That's why we were so excited about this first matchup. We have two guys who have run 41 off more times each than anyone else in the world. And this is what we came to see. We want to see Nate run 41, and we want to see if Parrish can put that injury on the shelf and get through this pass.
Yeah, honestly, that's one of the best 41s I've seen Nate run in terms of staying up course. And the thing to understand is that 41 off, you can't really be that far up course. The rope, because of the way he's got to reach max width on the side of the boat, it doesn't really pay to be really early or you start getting pulled in on the buoys. And that was an amazing.
Yeah, I mean, his timing 1 through 4, that's as clean as I've ever seen him do it.
So I'm just getting a word here. That was his 81st 41 off that Nate Smith has run. Quite honestly, I think if you took everybody else in the world and added all the 41s together, including the guys that are skiing at 34 mile an hour, there aren't 81 other 41s that have been running.
Absolutely not.
It is just amazing. But here we go. Parrish, we're going to look for this good 1 and 2, and then he can keep it going down the lake. Ooh.
What'd you see on that gate?
I didn't. You know what? Yesterday, I wasn't crazy about the way he's transitioning from 2 palms down to what we call the baseball grip before he turns in. I'm just not crazy about where he's making that transition because the handle is so low and it's down in front of him. It looks like it's got him moving. I know why he's doing it. He likes that pull out with the double palms down because it keeps his shoulders level. But when he's making that transition right here, you can see it ends up dropping him in, and his arms are in. Now, it takes a while for his arms to extend, and until his arms are completely straight, he's not truly accelerating. So now he's got his acceleration late, and he comes in here, and that's going to create a feeling of narrow. And when you're as tall as Chris Parrish is, and you go all the way to the inside like that, it's going to be hard for the ski and the boat to hold you up. So I think what Parrish is going to need to figure out is how to get that acceleration a little earlier. We know he likes that. We know he wants that. But those bent arms that he's getting as a result, and if I trace it back, I think it has to do with how tied up his arm. I'm not used to seeing his arms, that handle, that close to his body when he's trying to maneuver a handle. He typically gives himself a little more space.
Yeah, that wasn't the gate that we saw at 39, and you're absolutely right. Something in that transition up into his gate glide is drawing him narrow. But we're going to see Nate come back in, 43 off.
World record rope length, folks. And not quite, I think, what he's looking for to get the width on that first buoy, so he's just make sure he doesn't hit the buoy and hurt his ankles there by any chance. And probably just more than anything, wanted to get a look at it in case later, if he's skiing against any of the remaining 6 skiers, that he's, hey, I've had a gate shot, I've seen it, I'm ready to go.
Absolutely, because you look down this list of people to come. Freddie Winter, he's run 41 in tournament. Joel Howley, I think 5.5. If not, for sure he's been to 5-ball.
Yep.
And Will Asher obviously has run 41, a handful of tournaments also. So, it's not unreasonable what you said, that he may need to call on a solid 43 start if he's going to win this tournament.
Well, in a tip, if it works out, now, I mean, Nate's the number 1 seed, so my guess is he's going to have the choice all the way through. My guess is he will hold that going out first, most likely all the way through. So he's not going to find himself in a situation where, if Freddie, Joel, Will, or any of the other gentlemen, if they did happen to run 41, if they got a full 1 at 43, pushing him to get to the second buoy. But, still, I think he's I know Nate would love to set a world record here for this crowd.
Absolutely.
So, we'll keep an eye on that as we go through. But there's a lot of skiing that's still got to be done, and as smooth and as good as he looked through that whole pass. Now, from a strategy standpoint, Nate was behind the yellow boat. If he chooses to go first and gives up that choice of boat, you might see in a later round one of these guys try and flip him over to the red boat just to see if is there any chance
they can find an edge.
I doubt it, but they might try. So here we go. Freddie Winter from England, 32 off, 13 meters, and Freddie was not real well settled in the first round yesterday, but had a very strong finish to the second round yesterday. And I had an opportunity to talk with him yesterday. He said that he felt that he was a little more comfortable behind the red boat. So I'm a little surprised here to see him out behind the yellow boat. He being the higher seed against Daniel, Freddie obviously decided after maybe watching the girls that maybe it wasn't related to the boat yesterday, and he was just not quite settled and decided, hey, I'm just going to go with whatever I get, but I'm going to take that quarter buoy advantage and be the first skier out on the water.
Yeah, and it's probably, a lot like we said earlier in this round was, when someone, people were apparently struggling behind the yellow boat. I felt the same thing. I didn't feel in sync with it, but when Nate finishes the afternoon yesterday by running 41 with the yellow boat, I know if I was skiing this afternoon, I definitely, any reservations I had about that boat would have definitely disappeared.
Yeah. And all right, so here we go. We're going to have Daniel Advarco coming in from our right, and he is going to be at the 32 off or 13-meter rope. And again, that 32 off is 32 feet of rope taken off of a 75-foot rope. So he'll have 43 feet of rope to deal with here as he runs these buoys. And Daniel has really kind of stepped up with the injuries to Chris Parrish and Thomas DeGasperi this year. Daniel took that opportunity. A little hot rodding there as he goes around 6-ball with the inside arm. But he's really stepped up into that kind of that 4th and 5th spot. Still looking for a podium finish this year, though.
Yeah, but and what he's really done it by ironing out his consistency.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He's so like we were talking earlier, maybe he doesn't have as high a ceiling as Freddie Winter just yet, but he's one of these guys that if he doesn't run 2 at 41, you're going to wonder what happened.
Right.
You're going to wonder, you're going to wonder why.
Yeah, and I think I was talking to him a little bit. He said he has. I asked him if he'd made any changes coming into this year, this season. What was there that he kind of put to the to his success, and he actually told me he actually changed his ski. He has changed his diet. He's changed his workouts, and he's changed the way not only where he trains in the winter, because he's obviously down at Corey Pico's, a ski school here in our American summers, but then when we go into winter, he goes down to Chile and is doing the eternal summer, if you will, and obviously...
So he just changed everything.
It just changed everything, and he's hit on it, and it's working. So Freddie Winter, 35 off, 12 meters of rope. Keep in mind it's 11.5 meters from the pylon out to the buoy line. So Freddie's got half a meter of extra rope to navigate down the lake. Looks settled in and smooth. That's much more what I saw in the second round yesterday when he ran the 2.5 at 41, and he certainly looks settled in today. I don't think, like I said, I think any reservations about which boat, which driver, that's been laid to rest. And I think for the most part, we're going to see more of a traditional, the higher seeds are probably going to choose to go first.
Yeah. There's sometimes it's a weird phenomenon where, the first couple skiers in the first round yesterday, they struggled. And it's like no matter how much you put it out of your head and you just, think rough luck for skier X, and this guy's really not on this weekend. It can somehow just be a little bit contagious, where the bar just lowers and lowers. Where the first round, we only saw one person get past 2 at 41,
right? And
you're thinking, well, this might be an easy cut this year, or maybe the scores aren't going to be what they typically would be, and then a few hours later, we saw what happened yesterday.
And to your point, a few hours later, very early in the event, we saw our first 39 run. I can't remember who it was, but like the third skier off the dock had run through a 39. And you saw that level just immediately change. So here's Daniel's second pass, 35 off. Again, we would expect this to just be a warm-up pass, an opportunity to kind of feel the lake out, feel the conditions. Now, let's take a minute and talk about the conditions, because here at the Belle Aqua Lakes, we are literally there are 3 man-made lakes here. We're on Lake 1, I believe. And this is literally you can see the rock shorelines. The embankments are probably what we'd call maybe an 8-to-1 grade, 10-to-1 possibly, so that when these boats come up through here and the waves come over, they hit and just dissipate up in the rocks. There's no bounce sending the rollers back out into the middle. There's no other boats on the lake. It's not like being out on the river or a public lake. This is literally a racetrack, if you will, built for slalom skiing. These are skiers who are used to traveling around the world, skiing on rivers where there's currents. Maybe there's other boats. It's not their ideal. They prefer to be at a location like this, of course, because this is more of what they're used to in their training. But these are guys that can handle all kinds of situations, but this is the kind of course they really want to be.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the few pro events a year where we are in ideal conditions. So like you had mentioned, the possibility of a world record today is an absolute reality.
So here we go. Freddie Winter, 38 off. Nice one ball. Tied off 2. Looks very good. Settled in here. Freddie does, you will see him do that. I kind of call it a check at 5 ball there. He'll, as a right foot forward skier, he's coming into that 5th turn, which is his offside turn. You'll kind of see him. He drops his chest a little bit, hits the brakes, lets the line get tight because he doesn't need to get to the 6 ball super early, and he'll ride over to the 6 ball, make sure he gets that out. And quite honestly, that's the nicest 38 I've seen him run this weekend.
Yeah, he's definitely looking more and more comfortable, more confident as this event goes on.
Which is not really something the other guys want to see with Freddie. He has been skiing very well this year. He and Nate have, Nate's come out on top more than he hasn't, but Freddie has pushed him.
Yes.
And really is kind of yes, Parrish might come to an event and push Nate, but then the following weekend the consistency wasn't there, and you might see Nate win a tournament fairly handily. This year, Nate has had to work for every single win, and I know him running 41 early, Nate, that is, getting that confidence will help, but make no mistake, he's down there keeping a careful eye on how this finishes.
Yeah, for sure. So we have Daniel coming in on his 38 off. Obviously, he's going to have to get through this entire pass also.
Yeah. And here again, we have a left foot forward skier and Daniel going against the right foot forward skier, so you can kind of see that his strong turns will be on the 1-3-5 side. And but you know, the thing, Daniel's pass there was very, very solid. Daniel is somebody who we're not shocked to see him maybe have a bad turn, struggle here or there, but he is really good at making up. You know, he's not afraid to scrap his way through a pass. I mean, we've seen him run, you know, again, I think John and I were talking yesterday where we saw somebody run a pass and we would make the comment that that was a terrible completed pass,
yes.
you know, just because it's just a scrap fest all the way down. It's not smooth, it's not tight, it's not the way they want to run it. But at the end of the day, you're sitting down there at the end of the lake, 6 is 6. There's no style points here, so he's still in the game.
Yep, and that's as much as anything. That's what Daniel has gained through his confidence in the last year.
Well, and I think that you can see him literally, and that was a beautiful 38 off. But I mean, we've been at tournaments where we see him run a really ugly 38 off, come back and run a beautiful 39. He's like Etch-a-Sketch. He just forgets it and moves on. So, okay, Freddie Winter. This is where we're starting to really pay attention. This is a big pass here, 39.5 off. A little slow out of 1. Nice 2-ball though. A little slow out of 3. Nice 4-ball. Nice 5. Yeah, no, that was well done.
Yeah, last half of that was on point. The little bit of a scary start. You know, I think he came a little hot into 1 is why he sat back on 2-ball. But yeah, the end of that pass was nice.
Well, and I think it's worth mentioning this year. We've been talking about how strong Freddie's been skiing. I think it's worth mentioning that he has made an equipment change in this year, and he's switched over to the Monte Carlo ski.
Yep.
And when I ask him about it, his comment is his ability to get back into a really strong position behind the wakes is the difference between the consistency in his skiing. And I think that was a perfect example. You saw him turn 1. He brought the handle into his chest because he had a loose line. It's not where he wants to have it. But within about 3 or 4 feet, the arms are out, the hips are up, and by the time he hits the center line of the boat, that ski's pointed almost 90 degrees to the other shore. He is locked in, so he gets all the acceleration and swing that he needs to get out to the next buoy, and he's fine.
Yep. Yeah, and that is exactly what you see in watching him. He can make a mistake. The ski isn't going to shut down. It's going to carry its speed. It's going to get back underneath him, and a small mistake remains a small mistake. It
right.
doesn't. It
that's
doesn't.
right. Doesn't compound.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's well said.
So this is going to be where Daniel's going to call on that confidence he's had all year, the experience he's had all year.
No.
Rare lately.
Rare, very rare. And you know, there's a little chatter there. As we watch the replay here, we might get a view of it. His ski, as you see him come around this buoy, you'll see the ski just chatter just a little bit. And this lake right there, you can see the skis just chattering. You see the tail blow. This is not a very deep lake. And for our viewers at home, when a lake gets shallow, these skis actually put a tremendous amount of downward pressure in the water. And when you go around a buoy like that and you're making a turn in a shallow lake, that downward pressure can actually start to lift the ski up. And you'll hear skiers talk about they're getting loose in the turns, if you can kind of compare it to, say, like a NASCAR. So it's not uncommon for these guys to come in and maybe make an adjustment to their fin, make the fin a little deeper, do something like that to, you know, again, just like you would see a NASCAR driver add some wedge or anything like that to get some control back. These guys will do something very similar with their slalom skis. We are going to get a chance here to see Freddie come in at 41, and this is, I'm sure.
So what's he do here? I mean, is he?
You
Is he
get
just
a
trying
look
to
at your
feel out
gates.
his gate?
Yeah. You get a look at your gates. I don't think he's going to worry about trying to get all the way down the course because he want to conserve energy. So I'm expecting to see him run. He might want to see 3-ball if he can. Yeah. So that wasn't so much about can I get down the lake. And I don't think that was necessarily the 1-ball he was wanting. As we talk about, if you look at the rotation, the tail of the ski was getting loose and kind of coming around. But if I can come back to Daniel for a second, in the qualifying rounds, we didn't run the boats in these patterns. The boat would go down the lake, you ran your first pass, and then you came back and you immediately ran your second pass, ran your third pass. So what can happen in these head-to-heads when you run a boat down, then a second boat comes down, you can actually change a little bit where some of the backwash or the little rollers are. And as I watched the girls ski today, 2-ball down here where we saw Daniel have the problem, the second skier did kind of have some issues there. Him being a left foot forward skier, he's coming into an offside turn there. Coming from the first pass in down here. I felt like I saw some at 3-ball. There were some situations where I saw skiers maybe not look so settled, and I do wonder if it has to do with the fact that we have changed up. So even though these guys have skied the boats yesterday, they've been behind the drivers, they've had a day on the lake now. Here they are. You're thinking in your mind, I know what to expect, but we have changed things a little bit.
You hear me when I'm saying that, right?
Okay, so hey, let's. We've got Chris Parrish over with Rick Stewart. Let's throw it over to them and see what Chris thinks of his run. Okay, well we are going to go to Chris Parrish and Rick Stewart here in just a second, but we will
The second guy.
let them
At 39?
get over there as we see Thomas
Yeah, one
DeGasper
guy
get in
fell
the
at
water and get
39,
ready
one
for
guy
his first
completed,
pass.
and then
Yes, is one of the most recognizable skiers out there. He's been in quite a few commercials.
Yeah, 5-hour range, right? Responsible about that.
Yeah. Yes, a lot of TV time, so it's a great help sport. And pull up his bio sheet here.
Okay, so here we go. Thomas DeGasper coming in first pass to be on the 32 off or a 13-meter rope. And where Thomas is one of our most consistent skiers, but he's had a little bit of a tough year this year, dealing with a back injury that's literally had him sidelined. Was unable to compete at the Malibu Open, flew all the way over from Italy, had to turn around, get back on a plane and go back. And then, at the Masters, I know he was having some issues.
Yeah.
So the back has really plagued him. And yesterday after the first round, I talked to him. I said, hey, how's it feeling? And his response back to me was, I'm still walking.
Yeah, he gave me something really similar too. He said before the second round, he said, obviously I came here to ski well. Obviously, I always want to win, but he said, my priority right now is to get out of this tournament without making my back so bad that I won't be ready to ski at the Worlds in November. So, yeah, he feels like he's on thin physical ice right now, but he looked great yesterday.
He did. He was strong. I believe he was one of our pairs of twos, right? He
Yes.
has twos twice. So he was skiing well. That's going to be right in there to score we need. You can see that he's actually gotten out of the water at the far end. Interesting thing here, 90-degree days. You step out in the sun, you feel like you're going to catch on fire, yet the water is cool here. So you're seeing these skiers on the ends, typically where they might just stay in the water and kind of conserve their energy. We're seeing them jump out and get on the platform so they don't get chilled. So here we go. Joel Howley, 32 off. A bit of a newcomer to the U.S. Tour, but an Australian record holder.
Yep. I believe 5 at 41, Australian national record.
Which is a huge score. One of the biggest in the world.
Yep. He won his first pro event a few years back at Stony Park in Australia, the event that leads up to one of the biggest events of the season, Moomba Masters. And this is kind of an interesting matchup. We have Thomas DeGasper, 2-time world champion, and like you said, one of the most consistent guys on the tour. Kind of the inside word among us slalom skiers is, if he needs 3, he's going to get 3.
Going to get 3.
I've never seen anyone score 3 at 41 specifically more than DeGasper. But on the other hand, Howley lately has a higher ceiling. He has higher raw scores in albeit sometimes it's just in record tournaments, not on the pro scene. Joel is skiing really strong right now.
He is possibly less consistent, as you're saying,
Yes.
than Thomas, but agreed, he has that ability. Now, again, right foot forward skier in Thomas DeGasper, left foot forward skier in Joel Howley. So we'll play with that a little bit as we get to the really short lines as Thomas comes back in here at 35 off. I think for Thomas, if he's physically feeling up to it, we can expect for him to get a full 2, possibly get to that third buoy. Joel being a left foot forward skier, that one ball going to be his dominant side, or his on side as we call it in slalom skiing. He comes over, if he can get off a 2 ball, now he's back to his on side, and he's got every bit of it. So this is going to be a very interesting matchup for sure. And with Joel, I was telling a story the other day. He is not as well known, but I've been very impressed. He's up at Coble's Ski School with Chris Eller, one of the best boat drivers in the world. Drives a lot of these pro tournaments for the men. April Coble there, of course, many-time national champion, has won one of the top female skiers in the world. And Joel has made himself a home there and trained with these guys. And even when he goes back home, I was telling a story yesterday, he did this deal with, he set up 3 cameras that he synced, that one was showing the boat path, one was showing the steering wheel, and one was showing him skiing. And he synced them all up so that when he went home, he could help his dad learn to be a better driver. So that, he's thinking outside the box. He's getting the job done. And that impresses me. He's not just hoping for the best. He's making it the best. So very impressed with this young man. And I think he's going to have a bright future. He's a thinker, and he keeps his head on his shoulders very well.
And just dramatically different. So it's interesting. We're going to see this through every one of these matchups. There's so many different personal styles to doing the same thing. So the fun thing is first of all you identify what's different, and then to sort of understand what makes these guys as good as they are is to identify what's similar. You see Thomas DeGasperi. He has really
those in right before I came out, so
a really unique offside turn. He comes to the inside a lot more. You'll see his head and shoulders drop a little more, a lot more movement, where someone like Joel Howley is just really, really still on his ski. There's not a lot of movement. But, interesting thing is end result is somehow still the same.
Yeah, and I think with one of the things you get from Thomas with his, again, if I could kind of refer to it a bit of cat-like reflexes, he is used to moving around. So if he hits some bumps, if he hits and he gets moved a little bit, no panic. Hey, I've been here before, and he gets back. Whereas with someone like Joel, who isn't used to moving on his ski, those same things happen. It might throw him off a little bit. But again, bringing back it all, it goes back like right there. Thomas drops that chest a little bit.
Example.
Never got his heart beat up. He's that doesn't even glitch in his mind.
Yeah, no, that is a great point. There is something to be said for someone who is used to moving around and maybe not always running the perfect line compared to, you'll see like Howley, or I can even think of my own skiing, a small mistake for me is going to be a lot bigger deal than it is for someone like DeGasperi, who's used to being off the rope longer than other skiers.
Well, and I think to your point of going back to one of our earlier conversations about the conditions here, there's possibly no real advantage to Thomas's, ability to move around. But again, go to the Yarra River, go to, the wherever, different rivers, different bays, different lakes, and all of a sudden that comfort of being able to kind of dance around and move on your ski, that pays off.
Yep, definitely. And you're right. I mean, Thomas has had great success at Moomba on the Yarra River in downtown Melbourne, Australia, and success at the Masters, the U.S. Masters as well, where the conditions are variable.
Exactly. Okay, so here we go. Joe Howley, 38 off. Thomas had a full pull here, so Joel, being the second skier, he's got to run this pass, and whatever Thomas runs, he's got to beat Thomas by at least a quarter of a buoy. So we're expecting him to make his way through this pass.
Oh. All right, a little trouble at 5. It looked solid up until then.
Well, you made the comment that Joel has a little bit more of a still style. And for me, when I watch these two guys, Thomas has more movement forward and back on the ski. But Joel has a tendency, if he's going to make a mistake, his tendency is to drop that head and shoulder over in. So, albeit Joel doesn't move as far forward and back on the ski, he does have a tendency to kind of move more side to side, which can eat up your consistency in a hurry, because if you get your head and shoulders moving inside that turn, now all of a sudden you've put the ski, if you can kind of think about it like you're running track, your head and shoulders are on the inside lane where you've got the shortest turn. but the ski's got to make a much longer turn to get around and catch you. And so that's that's something when I feel like Joel's skiing his best, that head and shoulder are staying still, the ski's moving out, but the body is more over the ski, and they're it's like being in lanes 2 and 4 rather than 1 and 6.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we got Thomas de Gasperi. This is 39 off, so this is the one that's really going to separate between him and Joel.
Nice one ball. Oh, big 2. That's where that back could come into play.
Absolutely. There's no doubt you could see his back give out 2 to 3 ball.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, granted, it was a big turn, but a strong Thomas is not going to lose his hips there.
No, and again, here we are, onside turn here at 2. So I'm a little surprised that we saw him, and I didn't really see the ski wiggle, but he was unsettled on the ski. He felt something there. He didn't like, and he started dancing around, and he just couldn't get where I think the back is hurting him is in that ability to drive his hips up here at the finish of the turn.
Yep.
And so as he's going to 3, we call it getting separated here. Rather than have his hips up, you can see right there the hips drop back and the handle starts to get away from his body, and now he's going to be fast and narrow at this third buoy. And the choice he had to make there was take the kind of turn he did, or drive the front of the ski down in the water in hopes that the nose will get down and the tail will come around.
Yeah.
But I've seen guys be reluctant to do that in this shallow water because the tail might blow.
So we need any piece of 4 ball here.
Any piece of 4 ball,
which is still a big ask. I mean, 39 is 39. This isn't a gift for Howley.
Looks like he did it.
nice job. That's good skiing. Well, to your point, 39 off, one of the hardest. I mean, it is incredibly difficult, as we saw with the trouble that Thomas got into. But again, I don't think there's any of these 8 guys sitting on the dock not expecting, when they put their bindings on, knowing they're going to have to run that 39. When Thomas pulled up at 3 there, he wasn't swimming in thinking, well, maybe Joel won't get there. He was swimming in thinking, my weekend's done. This guy's going to get there, because that's the caliber of skiers we have. It's the kind of conditions we've got. It's the entire feeling of the event. We've got great boats, great drivers, great conditions. You know, they're expecting great scores. So tough break for Thomas. Hopefully the back is holding up, not getting any worse. But I agree with you. I feel that we saw maybe not so much the back in pain, but a lack of strength there from just not being able to do the exercises and the amount of skiing that he's used to doing.
Yeah,
so
yeah, for sure. There, obviously there was a small mistake at 2, and it was kind of what you were talking about, Joel. His upper body racing his lower body to the finish. He rotated his upper body in and left his feet behind, but a strong Thomas would have just slid his hips up and back in line with the rope and been okay. But hopefully no further damage anyway.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so here we go. 4th pairing. This is going to be our number 3 seed, Will Asher, versus our number 6 seed, Corey Vaughn. And Corey Vaughn is an interesting story, because this is a young man that's been around for 4 or 5 years, has intermittently, if you will, put up a 2 at 41 or a 3 at 41. But again, we go back to a little bit of a Joel Howley situation. The consistency just hasn't been there to really make it through a multi-round tournament and get that, say, podium finish. Yesterday, two 2 at 41s. I think he skied inside a 3 ball one of the rounds. So this is a young man that is skiing strong. And again, as we pile up here in the first half of the course at 41, as we watch Will Asher run a textbook 32 off, this could get interesting. So Will Asher, the higher seed, again, as we expected, we see him choose to come out first. So Will's going to put up a score. Corey's going to have to go and beat it.
Yeah, and as much as I'm, as close as friends I am with Will Asher, it's Corey Vaughn is a hard guy not to cheer for.
Yeah.
He's just sort of done this whole thing his own way. Maybe not as much. He didn't grow up immersed in the competitive water ski world, so he found a love for it, and he just carved out his own niche. He found places to ski, be it down in Acapulco with Gordon Rathburn, where he does a bunch of work down there. Spent some time in North Carolina, some of the lakes there. I think with Lynn Carnes, perhaps at Mystic Waters. He just always found a place to ski, found a place to work on his craft, and you can't help but root for the guy.
No, absolutely, and he is. His motto is love, peace, and water skiing, and so he's always. I want to say he always has a smile on his face. He almost always has a smile on his face, and if he doesn't, there'll be one there shortly. And I know he's had a tough couple of weeks as he just recently lost his grandfather, who traveled with him to just about every single event that Corey could get him to, and there in the end, even the last couple of years, we even saw Corey would. Help him into a wheelchair or help move him around. I mean, but there was never, ever a second thought about that was exactly what he wanted to be doing and exactly who he wanted on the shoreline cheering him on. So, our heart goes out to the Vaughn family, of course, but, I know he is, he's a well-adjusted young man. He just absolutely keeps his head on his shoulders and has a very positive outlook on life, on skiing, and I think it's paid off.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you definitely get the sense that he's doing it for the exact right reasons. He's doing it because he loves it. He wants to help the skiing community grow. He's always doing clinics and doing coaching, and it's he's an inspirational dude for sure. And it's really cool to see that his dream of like he said yesterday, he's been trying to make the final in this event for years, and yesterday he did it handily, back to back 2 at 41s. It was cool to see,
and he had to do it with pressure.
Absolutely.
He came out late in the seeds and had to go out there and perform with the pressure on him, and he did it. So all right, Will Asher, 35 off, 12-meter rope. The course is 11.5 meters wide, so he's got about a half a meter of extra rope that'll actually reach outside those buoys. If he gets up perfectly perpendicular to the pylon, which at this length of rope he won't be. So he's still having to use his body to get outside. For these guys, for these pro skiers, second pass, it's a warm-up. They're going to be coming out at that pass in the following rounds. They're going to literally be starting at a pass that most people never in their entire skiing life ever even get to give you an idea of, what these guys, how hard this is. And I mean, I think that's one of the hardest things about this sport is people watch it on TV. For our viewers at home, you look at it and you think to yourself, can't be that hard. They make it look pretty easy, but it's a lot like snow skiing. You watch these Olympic snow skiers, and if you ever watch somebody go down and they can make it down the course in 57 seconds, and then you try it yourself and it's 3 minutes and 25 seconds, this is a very similar situation. So much respect to these guys, their abilities and their talents, and as you said, all of them doing it really for the love of the sport. But this is a pro event. There is $20,000 in prize money that we're going to be spreading out to the top 8 guys. All these 8 guys that made this final are going to get paid, but it's $20,000. It's not $200,000. So they're going to work and fight and claw to get their money. All right, Corey looking very solid and strong today. Little check there at 5 just to make sure he's got his way all the way through the course. First pairing that we've had with 2 right foot forward skiers.
Yeah.
So we had 3 lefties into the finals today. 2 of them didn't make it through. So our 4th round will be 3 righties and a lefty. But Joel Howley being our lone lefty to hold the torch there. But these 2 guys, obviously, strengths and weaknesses being on the same side of the course in terms of onside and offside turns. Similar matchup in terms of what they have to do to get lined up and through the gates. So this will be a good pairing.
And it's like you said, like the left foot forward versus the right foot forward. There's advantages, there's disadvantages to both. Where it's really going to become evident is if there is the need for a 3-ball at 41. If someone's going to rely on their offside or their unnatural turn at 2-ball, then that could be the difference.
Well, and it was interesting. I was talking with Dave Good of Good Water Skis yesterday, and he made the comment that in their sales of skis, 50.5% are right foot forward skis and 49.5% are left. So you're literally splitting the sport right down the middle, and I would have gotten that wrong. I would have thought they were more right foot forward skiers than left, but it's the numbers don't lie. As we see Will Asher coming through here at 38 off. The rope is now a quarter of a meter short of reaching the buoy, so you're going to see him lay that body out. And Trent, talk with us for just a brief moment about, as we shorten the line, obviously it gets a little harder to get out to the buoy, but what kind of differences do you guys feel in terms of the dynamics of the sport? As you shorten the line and that pendulum gets shorter, what's the main difference?
Yeah, well, it's interesting is what happens is your window of opportunity to create speed, to be leveraged against the boat, to feel like you're really doing valuable work, that just starts shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. So your opportunity to build speed gets smaller, and then your responsibility to maintain that good body position after the wakes as you approach the turn, that grows every time it shortens the line. So really it just becomes, you have to become more and more patient as the line gets shorter, and that's so counterintuitive. You want to leave the wakes and you want to start focusing on the buoy, but as the line gets shorter, you have such a greater distance to travel from the wake, center of the wake, up to the apex of the turn, that you have to be so patient.
Now, do you feel like as the pendulum gets shorter by the rope getting shorter, obviously your window to create that speed kind of shrinks, but do you feel like your ability to create that speed actually goes up because your opportunity to accelerate increases?
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You can have more angle, but it's just such a waiting game as the line gets shorter.
Nice pass by Corey there.
Yep.
He's looking solid. He is 100% in this game. I would say at this point in time, we're getting ready to bring Will back in here at 39. Leading into this, if you look at experience, you look at titles, you get all that, looking at the seeding coming in, Will Asher has the slight advantage here.
Yes.
I think where Corey, if he can get through this 39, assuming that Will runs it, I think where Corey will put a little pressure on Will, though, is because of how well he's skiing right now. If he can run that 39 a third time in a row, knowing he's coming in at 41, I think that might put enough pressure on Will to force him to feel like, hey, I got to get a piece of three. Yep. I can't just – and, I talked to Will yesterday. He needed 2 full buoys to be guaranteed into the finals. And when I asked him about it, he said, I didn't really know. I didn't really care. I wanted to get down the course at 41. I wanted to get 6 because for him, having a higher seed, he's here to win this tournament.
Yeah.
If he gets 2nd or 8th, to him, it's kind of the same thing.
Deal.
So, I think with Will, that pressure could be there, but in his mind, I think he's going to be coming in to run the full pass. All right, here we go. 39 and a half off. This is one of the very toughest passes of the sport. Nice 2-ball. Very patient on his offside. Has a little bit more of a whoa.
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah, I missed that. I'm not really sure what the trouble was at 5-ball because the pass looked great.
Well, I think he literally just came up short. A little lax maybe off 4, and he just came up a little narrow on 5. But again, using his expertise, using his, I hate to refer to him as a veteran, but as a veteran, he just let the turn kind of round out, didn't worry about it, waited for the boat, and then put the hammer down to get over to the 6th buoy.
He's looking good. Will's looking really strong this weekend. It's looking, he spent the last, what's it been, 6-8 years of his career, designing skis and building new equipment, and he'll be the first to tell you that he often puts his own scores and sometimes even his own performances aside to try and find the better ski, something that's going to push his scores and elevate his customers' scores, the customers of HO Sports.
Sure.
And more, the last few months, more so than in a few years, he really looks like he's comfortable on his ski.
Well, this ski has the least amount of Bondo,
yes,
filing marks, scratches, spare screws that I've ever seen. It is because he is always, even when they introduce a new ski, he's already working on next year. So he has definitely found something that makes him happy. As we see Corey Vaughn come in.
Wasn't the start Corey wanted.
Not the start he wanted. That's tough. That's a heartbreak. That's not how he wanted to finish his weekend. You want to build all the way through the weekend, and that was not how he wanted to do it. see if we can maybe get a replay here of how where it went wrong there.
Looks like Will's going to shut it down too. He's not going to take a shot at 41 just yet.
Yeah. Okay, so we have our 4 semifinalists with Nate Smith, Freddie Winter, Joel Howley, and Will Asher. And we're going to see our next matchup should be Nate Smith and Joel Howley.
Yeah.
And then we'll have Freddie Winter and Will Asher. You know, our top 3 seeds coming into the tournament were Freddie, Nate, and Will. So we have, you know, that part of our seed is held through. Joel Howley slipping in there, you know, moving up, going to get some elite points, going to get some money, and he's going to move his way up. So,
all right, looks like we have Rick Stewart who's got an interview for us.
Alrighty, I'm here at the 2015 California Pro-Am Water Ski Championship at Belle Aqua Lake in Rio Linda. And I've got Chris Parrish here. Chris, you're a highly rated skier, #1 in some of the lists right now. But you're telling me you're not really up to par as far as you could be.
Absolutely. I really just look at this. I'm just thankful to be out here. I had an injury in June. I could tell the muscles are quite not firing right yet. I actually felt really good today. And like I said, there's far more worse things in life that could be right now. And to be on the water with the top skiers in the world, I'm very thankful.
Now, you were telling me that some of the skiers, by, you know, I hesitate to say this because you're much younger than I am, but at your age competing, a lot of them aren't where you are ranking-wise. You're kind of special for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very lucky. This is actually only my 2nd injury of my career, and I have to look back and go, wow, I mean, this whole time of my skiing, I've had only a couple injuries. So I think that's made a difference. I feel like as a skier in a humble way, I'm very, very still in the water. I think that's helped my longevity. And, you know, I give a lot of my thanks to the Lord, too, and he gives me a lot of strength.
Now, you've been coming here since the beginning, you told me.
Absolutely. I've actually been coming here to Belle Aqua since I was 7 years old. It was my first tournament. My first pro tour, I was 15 years old here.
How has the tournament itself changed for the better?
You know, it's definitely, I feel like the margins for error are more competitive now. I think that's in any way, golf, all the different sports. You just can't screw up. The margins are so close now.
Okay, so as you go through looking forward in the future, the injury, and how do you step forward and keep going?
Well, you know, I got hurt in June. You know, it is healing and it is getting better. I think key is, you know, good diet, you know, good sleep, you know, good training, good fuel. The right proper rehabilitation, and knowing your body and understanding where you're at, and be able to understand that. Like today, you know, I didn't ski at my optimum level, but I can look back and go, okay, well, I'm not quite 100%. I can deal with that.
Who's your favorite out there today, based on what you've seen?
I'd say my favorite skier is Will Asher. We've been rivals, but I think he's a great person. I really like the guy.
Excellent. Best of luck in the future, Chris.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
All right. Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Okay, good. I thought
Alrighty, I'm with Daniel and Varco. And Daniel, how was your run out there?
Not so great this morning, unfortunately. I wanted to do a lot better than I did, but made a little mistake my 39th pass, and unfortunately that was it for me today.
Now, how was the competition out there overall, plus what you were up against?
I was up against Freddie Winter. He is one of the best in the business. I think he's ranked #2 in the world right now, and wanted to give him a little more of a run for his money, but as I said, it's in a slalom skiing, one little mistake and it's all over. So unfortunately, that's what happened to me. But the tournament is one of my favorite tournaments to come to Sacramento for the Diablo Shores, and it's a California Pro-Am, excuse me.
That's fine. Now, you're from the Czech Republic. Now, how difficult is it for you to do all these tournaments on the West Coast?
I mean, most of the time I live in Florida. That's where I'm based out of. So it's challenging, but as I say, we really appreciate the Battles family and all the sponsors putting up this tournament, and we have to go and support it. And as I said, one of the favorite places to come.
Cool. Thank you for being with us, Daniel.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Best of luck.
Thanks.
Another 30, 45 minutes.
All right, I'm here with Brian Detrick. Brian, great tournament this year. Tell me how you're doing. You're not in your ski clothes. What's up?
Yeah, unfortunately had an early fall in the first round yesterday, but followed up with a good round, but it wasn't quite enough to get into the finals today.
Now, we were hoping that local boy makes good, in that situation. You've done this before, and it's another stop, and you move on. But what's the key for getting rid of this one and getting out of your mind?
Just putting it behind us, just it happens. It's our sport, and, that comes with the territory that we're in. And so just put it behind myself, focus on the U.S. Open, which is the next event, and then the World Championships in November.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but last year when you were here, you were kind of battling a little injury or something like that. How are you feeling physically?
Physically, okay. Had a few injuries coming in to this weekend, but just trying to manage them. And all the skiers, we're at such a high intensity that everybody's banged up. So that's never an excuse. We just try to manage and do the best we can.
Now, you don't want to pick on one or another, but based on what you've seen there, who's the favorite in your mind, being as it's not you?
Definitely Nate Smith. I mean, he's been on a roll the last few years. He's run 41 off already twice this weekend, once today and once yesterday. And, he's the guy to beat right now. He's really separated himself from the rest of the field, and then everybody else is trying to chase him.
Okay, what's the key for younger skiers coming up trying to get to this level?
Just like any sport, the dedication and hard work, you got to put in the time. It's not just going to happen overnight. So it's years of hard work and, really focusing on your technique and, watching the pro men and women of trying to figure out what they do well and incorporate that into your own skiing.
All right, Brian, thanks for being with us, and best of luck the rest of the season. Sorry it didn't work out this tournament, but, you'll be back. You'll be back.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, thanks, Brian. All right, thank you. I'm here with Shelly McKinney, and you're a massage therapist, okay? And you're here at water ski tournaments. Tell me about that.
I've been going to water ski tournaments for the last 6 years and working on the special needs of water ski athletes. And truly, they have special needs.
And more of a back area, I would assume.
No, not true. It can be any part of the body. This is an extreme sport. They ask a lot of their bodies. So any athlete that asks that much, you're using different muscles than the average person walking down the street.
So you said you're at all the tournaments within a general radius here?
Within about 50 miles of Sacramento, yes. And there are plenty of water ski lakes in that area and plenty of skiers that use those lakes. And so I go and I see what I can do to help them get the best out of their body.
Well, and obviously the skiers know you because, I'm not going to get too far into legality here, but Lisa, how are you doing? Are you okay?
I'm better
back,
now.
ladies and gentlemen. We are
Okay, well, that's as far as we're going to go because of regulations and everything, but it's good to see you here and being able to take care of skiers here that may or may not have problems.
Getting ready for our Final Four semifinal.
Have you been a skier before in your life?
I've never been a skier. I've always been a massage therapist.
And Freddie Winter going against Will Asher.
And I love being out in the weather and seeing the ocean or the lakes and the waves, and the skiers are awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, Shelly. And, if you I know you're busy here, but maybe if the table's empty later, maybe I'll come by.
Oh, maybe. That would be good.
All righty. We'll get back to the skiing action.
Okay, so welcome back, everybody. We are rolling into our semifinals here with going to start out with Nate and Joel Howley. And then we will have Freddie and Will. We started yesterday with 30 athletes. We knocked it down to 8. We just had our semifinals, head-to-head format, knocked it down to our Final Four here. We're going to knock these guys down to a Final 2 pairing, and then we're going to crown a champion. And we saw some incredibly strong skiing there. Nate Smith running the 1 at 43. Joel Howley just kind of doing what he needed to do to get through with the unfortunate run there by Thomas DeGasperi. Freddie Winter had the 2 at 41. Will Asher ran a 39, went to the dock with Corey Vaughn not finishing. So we've seen strong skiing. We haven't, other than Nate running the 41.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I thought we would. Obviously, when you get the first matchup and you see someone run 1 at 43, you kind of, get to the edge of your seat and wait to see what's going to happen. I was surprised we didn't see a little deeper at 41. I wasn't surprised to see Will not come back in at 41. That's, that's Will's experience.
Yeah, and I think at this point in time, I can imagine if Will was sitting here and we asked him, why not practice your gates coming in at 41? I think I can hear him saying, if I haven't got it figured out by now, I'm not going to get it figured out. So save your energy, get ready for the next round. And, I know he's got a big one here going against Freddie, as we kind of mentioned right before we went over to the interviews. coming into the event, top 3 guys on the elite list: Nate Smith, Freddie Winter, Will Asher, all 3 here in the finals again. Joel Howley getting in here in the mix. I know Joel Howley wants to be that number 4 guy all the time and possibly getting up on that podium. So he's going to give Nate Smith a run for his money. But, I'm anxious to kind of see here how Nate follows up with that second round. He looked dialed on every single pass.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a tough run for Joel.
Yep.
But at this level, these guys don't buckle down. Joel
That's just it. Yeah, Joel's been to 5-ball at 41.
Yeah.
He's got the Australian national record.
That's right.
So, we seen the first round yesterday, Nate Smith, even though he's Nate Smith, he didn't get past 3-ball at 41 in the first round. So, it's anything can still happen here this afternoon.
So after Nate ran the 1 at 43 in the first round, you and I had a quick conversation about strategy. And we asked, in the next round, when Nate has the choice as the higher seed to choose whether to go first or second, first skier sets the pace, second skier has to beat them. If they tie, the first skier moves on. I asked you then, do you think we'll see a little gamemanship here with the next round? Will the second skier maybe try to get Nate out of that yellow boat and behind the red boat? And we're seeing it here. Now, whether it was that Joel wanted the yellow boat or he just didn't want Nate to have it, just doing anything to maybe get in his head a little bit and mess his game up, we're seeing it come through. So this will be, fun and interesting to see how this shakes out.
Yeah, while it is a little thing, it seems like a little thing because it is a little thing, but, he's run 41 twice behind one boat. And I'm sure, even as confident as Nate is, even as accomplished as he is, he's going to choose to stick with the boat he's been killing it behind all weekend.
Well, keeping in mind yesterday, you guys skied the first round, everybody skied behind the yellow boat. Then in the second round, everybody except the last 6 skiers skied the red boat. The last 6 skiers, due to a technical difficulty, ended up having to finish their round with the yellow boat. So honestly, this is the first time all weekend Nate's actually even seen the red boat. There may be a hope that, hey, maybe it's a little different. The driver's got a little different feel, and maybe it'll just be enough to kind of level that playing field, if you will.
So second round, we have 35 off starts. So here's Joel Howley, matching Nate's 35.
There you go. Very good point. I'd already forgotten about that. Yeah. So here they came in at, as you said, 35. So now that's another going to be a little twist in this. All these guys, nobody started at 35 off yesterday. When we got to some of the women's skiers, we actually saw our top 3 seeds, Regina, Whitney, and Mannon. Actually, all 3 of those girls started at 32 off, as they were then in their final round. So they had seen the course from those ends. As we can expect right now, we haven't seen anybody run 39.5 off from right to left.
Yes.
So this is going to be a little bit, once we get into 39, nobody's taking 41 down here from the left-hand side. So we're going to actually be in a situation where these guys are, again, everybody's in the same boat, but it's an opportunity. Again, if you're that underdog, you're on the end kind of telling yourself these things, trying to give yourself that little bit of confidence. Exactly. There's some hope.
So this can be Nate Smith coming back in at 38 off, and like we've been saying all weekend, this is the first warm-up pass where things can go upside down really quickly. I know you spent a bit of time skiing with Nate, driving for him a little bit. What is, in your opinion, what makes Nate? What separates him?
Well, I think there's a number of things, and this is one of the most confident young men I've ever met, regardless of conditions, no matter what you throw at him, he is so confident in his abilities, not arrogant in his abilities, confident in his abilities, that he just stays focused on the important things. But if I had to narrow it down to one thing, what is the one thing that is separating him from his competitors a little bit right now? Nate's efficiency, if you will. He never gets in a hurry to get on the accelerator, if you will. He's always going to be willing to finish the turn and stay over his ski. Now, when you do that, and especially as he's a lighter guy himself, and in my opinion, you're keeping the ski on a little bit of a flatter plane as it comes through. And the more surface area you have, of course, then the more the ski keeps its speed. It doesn't drop into a hole. And as he's finishing that turn, he's creating his direction across the lake, but he's doing it without loading the boat. then what he's going to do, if we go back to your analogy or your description of what you guys go through when the rope gets shorter, his window of opportunity to work is going to be very short, and the accelerations are going to be very intense, but he only has to hold it for a short amount of time. So if you can imagine going to the gym and you're standing next to Arnold Schwarzenegger, he could grab 100-pound dumbbells and hold them out to the side for 3 minutes. You and I can't do that, but we might be able to swing them up and drop them, and that's what Nate's doing. He's just swinging up the intensity and dropping it because he's so patient at the finish of his turns.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good analysis. That's exactly right. It's his timing to always be in sync with the boat.
If you watch now, again, we have a difference here in our skiers. Is whoa, Joe got a little bit on the thin side of four ball there, but handles it well. We have a difference here. We've got a left foot forward skier, right foot forward skier, so you've got to you're looking on the other sides of the course. But again, when Joel Halley is skiing his best, we don't see his shoulders and his heads moving to the inside in the turns as much. We'll see it more on this two-ball turn right here. As he's finishing that turn, you're starting to see that head and shoulder move in a little bit. And as that happens, what you're doing is you're applying pressure to the ski, because if you don't, you're going to fall over. Anytime you apply pressure to the ski, it wants to stop turning and start tracking. It wants to go across the course. So again, if we're going to really define that separation, as Nate comes through the finish of the turn, he's just not putting any pressure on the ski, making it want to stop turning and start tracking.
Absolutely, and that ability to wait and let the ski come through the turn and really finish, that's a product of that confidence you were talking about
Absolutely.
earlier. He's not worried about what's happening out here. All he's worried about is getting through the turn, getting behind the rope in that solid position, and that takes such a level of self-assuredness. As simple as that sounds, when things are happening fast as they are, at 39 and 41, it takes Nate's level of confidence to make 39 look the way he does.
And speaking of 39, here we go. We're coming back in at 39. First time this weekend we've seen it from this end, so we're going to see what Nate can do. I've heard a little chatter that this end of the course actually has a little bit of movement in the water. Nate doesn't seem to care. He looks right on time, way up course. Little check there at 5, but that's
solid 39.
That's silly.
And you're exactly right. Like the where the skiers are setting up for their gates, like right where you see Nate now. At that point, they're adjacent to a boat launch. So there actually is a little bit of different roll back there for the gate setup from that end. But like you pointed out, it wasn't really an issue for Nate.
Well, and again, as we talk about, as it's like tennis shoes. Like some people, maybe they can only wear Nikes, but other people can only wear Adidas, or they're more comfortable in them. Each one of these skiers is coming out on different manufacturers' skis. So we have about 7 different ski manufacturers around the world. Nate Smith skiing for one of our sponsors here, actually in the tournament, the D3 skis. And I think one of the characteristics of the D3 ski that makes it a successful ski is the fact that it sits a little deeper in the water than, say, some of the other skis that are, maybe they ride a little higher, they're a little faster, but they're also a little less stable.
Yep. Yeah, no, that you're exactly right. The D3s, that's what they're known for.
Absolutely.
They're stable, they sit low in the water, they're good in adverse conditions. Not to say these are in any way adverse, but they can handle the small stuff too.
Yeah.
So
here
this
we go.
This is what Joel's been working for all year. This is why he's been training. He wanted to be in this final, and he wants to run 39 right now.
Little loose line off 1, doesn't panic. Nice 2-ball. Does a good job. Caught himself there out of 3. Come on, Joel.
It's good.
Very nice. Looked a little
tight.
Looked a
little tight.
That's well said. That's exactly the word I'm looking for. Was in control all the way through, but just never really looked like he relaxed. That loose line at 1. Here at 2. Now watch right here at 3. He's going to drop to the inside. You saw that head and shoulder drop down, and that's putting a lot of pressure on the rope and the boat early, which is not what you want to be doing. You want to be light on the boat out there, building that intensity right behind the wakes. You'll get a truer release off the second wake. You won't have excess speed, and you'll have more of an outbound path rather than a path where you're getting pulled to the buoy. But he handled it.
He did. Yeah, he did. And it was like you said, in real time, that 4-ball turn, you said he caught himself.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. He rotated in. His, like you were saying earlier, his upper body was racing his lower body through the turn, but instead of pushing and getting excited, he caught himself. He let his feet catch back up, so he was still in that aligned, powerful position when he got to the wake. So instead of one mistake unraveling and letting the pass go to waste, he, here we go. We're going to have head-to-head at 41.
Absolutely. So here we go. Nate Smith, 41 off. The only time we've seen him at this pass earlier today, he ran it, but it's all going to be about the start right here at the gates in 1. Nice. Wow. Oh, inside a 5-ball, I think. Well, I made the comment it was going to be about the start, and he got the start.
He got the start.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised there at 3-ball. I was thinking to myself, this is the most routine I've seen Nate at 41 this weekend. Compared to Malibu and some of the earlier events. This was looking pretty tidy.
Yeah. He to the tail a little bit at 2. We're not used to seeing that, but he. I'm a little surprised that he came up short. He got out of that 4th buoy. I would have said on time for a 41 off pass. So for whatever reason, just maybe changed edges a little hard there. I don't have a good read on why he came up short at 5-ball there.
And now we have Joel Halley, and so he's been to 5-ball. He's got the Australian national record, 5 at 41. So he's down there replaying his past performances, knowing that he has this.
Well, I think, and again, we're talking about a lefty. So for him to get a piece of the 5th ball, got to get a good start at 1, but then he's got to keep his head and shoulders up around 2 and let that ski come around, or it's going to catch up with him.
And this gate right here, this gate turn in is going to be really telling. If he doesn't drop his shoulder, he's going to have a chance.
Little slow out of 1. It's going to be big pressure at 2. Can he get outside of 3? No. You know what? I thought his gate turn in, though, was really good.
I really did, too.
I really did, too. But, again, if we end up getting to see a replay here, I thought his gate turn in, I thought his load was very nice. But as he comes off the second wake, watch that head. When he extends that arm, he lets his head go with it. And I don't know that that's really creating any more space. But what it's doing is, I think, it's just creating a little bit of an imbalance, and then there's
absolutely. And that head tip, that was set in motion as soon as he crossed the center line. So like you said, the turn-in was perfect. He didn't drop his shoulders. He got aligned with the rope really powerfully, but when he made that edge change, his hips slightly dropped away. What that does is it transfers the pull to your shoulders.
Yeah.
So now you have this 700-800 pounds of pressure, whatever it is, instead of it running through your spine. Now it's just attached to your shoulders.
Yeah.
So you're going to get separated, and you're going to get that head tip, and that's, not to be unkind of what we just watched, but that's how small these or how tight the parameters are of this pass.
Absolutely. We our sport not being as possibly as familiar with some of our local Sacramento crowd here. This is literally a situation very similar to, I like to compare slalom skiing actually to NASCAR. There's very much a reliance on technology, on your equipment, but it's dealing with speed. And if you've ever sat home and watched a NASCAR, and they'll talk to the pit crew leader and they'll say, well, how's Jimmy feeling about the car? And he said, well, it's loose in the turns and tight coming out, and so we added half a turn of wedge, and we put an extra quarter pound of pressure in the front right tire. Not all the tires, just the front right tire. And that's literally, for us at home, we can't fathom being able to feel those tiny adjustments. But you guys, at these speeds of accelerations, which it's worth noting, accelerate and decelerate faster than a Formula One race car.
Yes.
In the distances that you're doing it. If you can wrap your head around that, accelerating faster than a Formula One race car. Absolutely, you guys are feeling these minute adjustments as we see Freddie Winter coming in here at 35 off.
And just to further expand it, the interesting thing is in slow-mo replay, I could see what happened. What's really interesting is before Joel even got to 1-ball, he knew it had happened.
Yeah.
He knew what had happened.
Yeah.
He might have been able to fix it, but he knew exactly what he did wrong.
Well, and I feel like that's what so much of slalom skiing is it's not so much being so perfect about knowing I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's knowing that in a very short amount of time, when you hit the center of the wakes, you know that you missed step C, and you've got alternative plans to deal with it as you're coming in. I mean, that's what slalom skiing truly is. It's just, again, if I can bring it over to, say, a NASCAR analogy, when you know, a guy's running a line, but all of a sudden somebody's in his way and he can't run the exact line he wants, they're not out there just freewheeling it. They know they know where they're going with this, you know, and that's having that backup plan or this list of contingencies that you're going to go through is the difference between consistently being here in the top 4 or getting here if you're lucky.
Yep, absolutely.
So, okay, we've got Freddie cleanly through 35 off.
Yep, we got Will Asher coming in.
Will
so
Asher.
Is, you know, the all British heat right now.
That's right. We're going to have a Brit in the finals.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, unfortunately, we are guaranteed only to have one.
And this is kind of interesting to me. You know, this is Will won his first pro event on this very leg 11 years ago, and I'm pretty confident in that. When the Malibu Open was here.
Yep.
And 11 years ago, it would have been Will, the new young Brit, looking to dethrone, you know, the late, you know, our friend who we all recently, you know, the water ski world recently lost, you know, the late Andy
Mapple. Right.
So, you know, in just a blink of an eye, Will's gone from the young upstart, who is now Freddie Winter, to, you know, to the old guard, if you will.
Yeah.
So this is an exciting matchup. This is going to be fun.
Well, and this is literally a glimpse of the future of the sport, the where we've been of the sport. This is, I mean, 2 of the biggest names in slalom skiing right now, and you know, I kind of think about Nate, who's put himself into the finals here with the score of 41. I'm not sure that he would, if you asked him to choose one of these 2, who would he rather compete against? I don't think he's comfortable writing down either name.
No. There's you know, obviously we're at that point. There's no easy buy.
No.
But you know, the experience that Will holds, I think when it comes to, you know, to moments like this, you know, you're always gonna lean towards experience.
Well, I think the interesting thing here is, well, I take that back. I was about to misspeak. So Freddie, being the higher seed, chose to go first. And we're seeing him nice and tight through a 38 off. That was a nice pass.
Nice pass.
That's one of the better 38s I've seen him run this weekend. So Freddie, obviously being the first, chose to go out first, requiring then that Will has to beat him by at least a quarter of a buoy. If they tie, Freddie goes through.
Yep.
So Will choosing the yellow boat, and that's, again, is pretty much what we've seen, I think, throughout the day, pretty much been a non-issue. Okay, so we've got as we are getting ready to bring Will back through here at 38 off, we're actually going to throw it over to Rick Stewart real quick, who's doing an interview with Thomas DeGasperi.
I'm here with Thomas DeGasperi. Thomas, how was your run out there?
It was okay. I mean, I didn't ski the way I wanted, but, you know, I'm coming off an injury where I didn't really practice for the last month. So I'm pretty happy I'm still standing, and you know, I've been having back problems for a little bit, but I've been working on it to get it better, and I didn't get to practice the way I wanted. And you know, it was really tough because a lot of people ski very good yesterday and today, and it was really hard to get to the finals. So I'm happy to be here. A little bummed that I didn't get to ski again, but you know, this is the sport. I love what I do, and hopefully the next one will be better.
Now, physically speaking, how long do you think
Okay,
it takes
Will
a
Asher,
skier
38 off.
in your case, to feel confident that they're at the top again?
Well, I mean, I've been doing this for all my life, so you know, I won many titles. I'm happy with my career, but I want to continue to pursuing like the victories and skiing the best. And you know, hopefully with the work that I've been doing in the gym and off the water, I'll be 100% pretty soon.
All right, Thomas, thanks for being with us today, and congratulations. Best of luck, and hope you feel better soon. All right, thank you very much.
For myself, 39 taking this tailwind, I would make a little adjustment on my gait. I'm not going to make any adjustments in the course, but what you're really thinking about is that gentle breeze in your face that you're going to get at 41. And you know, just to explain to our Sacramento viewers who maybe aren't as familiar with this level of slalom skiing, that little breeze in your face, it's going to hide some mistakes. You know, like we saw Joel Howley lose his hips into the buoy and have a little bit of a loose rope. You know, that gentle breeze in your face can just slow you down a little bit and just hide some of those small errors.
Well, one of the other things you can pick up when you get just this, what I would kind of call just a ripple on the water from the wind, is any texture that is in the water that we've kind of seen here or there inadvertently, it hides that and actually helps dissipate that. So this will actually make the texture of the water a little more consistent. And I, if I was out there skiing, I would actually have more confidence in
You're
that.
absolutely right. It's going to kill the energy in some of those stray rollers that we might see coming off the shore, or the boat ramp like we're talking about. So here's Freddie Winter coming back, a little tailwind, 39 off.
Little deep out of 1, handles it well. Good at 2, fast at 3. Good job handling it right there. And there's that, I'm going to call it that that Freddie Winter check there at 5 ball. You know, he has a kind of an unusual move there whereas typically we really want to see a guy come through the finish of the turn and keep his hips up. He'll actually drop his hips back, keep his center of mass kind of centered over his bindings, if you will, but he pushes on the tail of the ski to slow down. The line comes tight, and you'll see him thrust those hips back up to make sure he gets to the 6th buoy.
Yeah, I know that move too well. It's something that I sometimes do a 2 ball instead of 4 ball. And what it is it's a little bit safer position. And instead of staying up over your feet and exposing yourself to potentially overturning, you sort of take the neutral route. You're going to give up a little bit of angle. You're going to have your hip in line at the finish, but you might have given up too much angle to. Yeah. You can do it at 5 ball. Don't do it at 2 ball.
That's the key. Is it when you're doing it at 5 ball and you check up going to 6? That's one thing. When you check up at 2, there's a lot of work to be done, to get down there. So
it often equates to no money for the weekend. but through 39, now we're gonna have Will Asher come back in, and obviously, as this has been going all afternoon, Will has to match the score to stay on target with Freddie.
Okay, here we go. There's the gate pull out. Little round at 1, big 2 ball. Really round at 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That wasn't. We've seen Will run a bunch of 39s this weekend. Most of them haven't looked like that.
No, that was not a as I watched his gate right here, when Will, and I kind of talked to him about it yesterday, he has a little bit of almost like what we would call in jumping, a little bit of an S turn where as he comes up, he'll almost intentionally carry a little too much speed into his turn, and you'll see him check that speed by getting on his outside edge. You'll see spray actually come off the inside of his ski. I noticed on that time as I was watching him come into the course, he didn't check any speed, and I wonder if he maybe overcompensated for the wind, pulled out a little early and couldn't do that check. And when you can't do that, the ski doesn't have that opportunity to move out with momentum to swing back, and that may have brought him up a little narrow at 1, and we saw that rounder turn there.
That's exactly it. And the telltale sign, I'm sure you saw in the replay, was right as he got to the center of the wakes, you saw his right shoulder just dip away a little bit. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to get his hips back underneath him, because, like you said, that the slow ski speed never let that hip come all the way through the finish of the turn. But Will, being Will, still found a way to get through the pass.
Absolutely. Okay, here we go. Money pass. Fred Winter, 41 off.
All right, I think he's going to need 3 here.
Oh, nice 1. There's 2. Ooh.
Yeah, that was strategy there, because he was in no sorts of trouble at 3 ball.
You thought he was in trouble at 3?
No sorts of trouble.
No sorts of trouble.
I thought he was absolutely fine, but he knows now Will has to get to 4 ball.
He does, but I'll tell you what, this is one of those situations where, nice tight 1, big 2. Honestly, I'm just surprised here. I know he's thinking now. Maybe he felt something that we can't quite see there, and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna force Will to go to 4." Like you said, that's the strategy. But I'll tell you what, this is one of those situations where he could easily find himself flying home, thinking,
"Why didn't I turn?
Why didn't I turn that? Why did I turn? I'm going against Will Asher. Yeah. Why did I give Will a chance to get to 4?"
Yep, but there's so many things going on in your head, and I don't know how much thought he put into it. He likely knows Will hasn't been to 4 ball this weekend.
That's true. That's true. This is
other than Nate, no one's been to 4 ball this weekend.
No, you're right, but I got to be honest with you. This is I'm nervous for Freddie here right now, because this is I think he's as huge of a score as that is.
It's the finals.
It's the finals. Yeah. If Will gets to the 3rd buoy, there's a very good chance he can get that to that 4th. So it'll all go back here. Can he get out of 1 well, get over to 2, but we'll have to see.
We're going to see here if we see that little S turn that's typical of Will. That was definitely a stronger pullout. A little slow.
Ah! So, Freddie Winter got it. You could hear a little frustration there coming out of Will. Not a real tight one ball, but honestly, I thought he was still in it there, and I think that's what Will's a little aggravated about here. Is he's fast into that buoy, but he was well outside it. A little frustrated that the tail kicked, I think, on him.
Yeah. You're 100% right, and that's where that disappointment's coming from. If he had a bad gate and was hot into one, it might not be as aggravating. But he came into 2-ball with a tight line, over top of his feet, ready to go, and that I didn't expect to see that his ski blow out like that.
No, and if you think about Will Asher skiing over the past decade, really since the time he came on the scene, he's known for dropping a bomb on 2-ball.
2-ball, yeah. I mean, it's his defining characteristic of his career. That's kids' dream of having a turn, to be able to turn their heel side turn like Will.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to throw it over to Rick and have a couple interviews here real quick.
Debbie, you're one of the tournament organizers, one of the main ones from what everybody tells me.
Yes, I am. My husband, Greg, and myself have organized this tournament for 13 years.
How is your tournament growing in size and scope?
Well, we've had to move locations one time. We went from Brentwood, California here to Rio Linda, and we've gone from 50 skiers to over 100 skiers from all over the world.
Now you have different designations of groups and levels of skiers too.
We do. We have amateur skiers participating. We have open women skiers, open men skiers, and master men skiers. So really the best of the best in all divisions.
And the master men skiers are, not to say a little older skier who maybe stepped out of the pro ranks maybe?
Correct. Masters men is 35 years and older. They are still skiing at 34 miles an hour, where our open women and our open men pro skiers are skiing at 36 miles an hour.
35 years old. Yeah, thanks. You made me feel real old there. I guess I'm in the extreme master.
Right. 35 to 55, 60 years old are still skiing in those divisions.
What's the most important thing as you're setting up a tournament like this to be aware of and be on top of?
Well, for sure, we could not do these tournaments without our sponsors. We have by far the best sponsors. We have people that have stuck with us for all 13 years. This year we have Future Ford from Sacramento, which has been amazing. They're a local sponsor. They really stepped up and came out and helped us a whole bunch. And we have Natique Boats, which is our main boat sponsor. All the ski companies, all the local Dutch Brothers, and all the other companies, we could not do this without them.
Now, we talked a few minutes ago with someone who was doing some massage for one of the people here, but it's also for the skiers, too. I mean, this is a physical sport.
It is very taxing on their bodies. The skiers, we've always had a masseuse here. Her name's Shelly, and she does an amazing job on all our skiers. It's tiring. These guys and women are skiing in these head-to-heads today 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So it's very tiring.
So after the tournament, how many days do you take off before you start working on the next one, or have you already before this one's done?
We do have plans for next year already, but we usually will take a month or 2 off, and then we'll roll right back into planning for the next year. So.
What's the most difficult thing about getting people from across the water from foreign countries and things like that, coordinating them to be here? Or are they already here competing in the tournaments that are around?
Well, this is the largest cash prize in the U.S., and they all want to be here. So they are very thankful and grateful that we've continued to do this tournament. So it's not as hard to get them here because they could win a good amount of money here, a real good amount of money. So.
Are you a skier yourself?
I am not a skier. I'm a retired skier. I used to ski amateur eons ago, but nope. I organize events now.
All right. Thanks, Debbie, for being with us. Thank you. We'll be back.
Tonight, and he managed to get me, but it was definitely a good event. I mean, I love coming here. Sacramento is really cool.
Now, you said your parents are watching back in Australia, right?
Yeah, my parents and quite a few other Queenslanders. So, hello back home. Thanks for staying up at 5 a.m. to watch me.
All right. Well, we're going to be doing better next year. You'll be back again next year?
I'll be back for sure, and yeah, a little better would be very nice.
All right. Thanks for being with us. Best of luck in the rest of the time. Joel, thank you.
For our audience at home here, we've got a quick little 5-minute break while the getting the final pairing here ready to go with Nate Smith and Freddie Winter. And we're going to get the interview crew over here, and we've got Will Asher here with us, so we're going to try and get a quick interview with Will. But, okay, so here we are, down to the final 2. We started with 30, knocked it down to 8, then to 4. We're down to the final 2. It's been a fabulous weekend of skiing.
Absolutely. You know, and all these matchups, in more so than in years past, they really seem like they could have went either way.
Absolutely. I feel
they're
yeah.
so even the whole way through, and somehow we're at Nate Smith and Fred Winter.
Well, we are at the 2 guys leading the elite list, the 2 guys who have been kind of fighting it out all season long, and you know, Freddie, I would say, kind of had a slower start coming into the tournament, but has kind of turned it on and looks like he's coming on strong. Nate has just kind of been Nate. He's just been strong all weekend, so we'll just kind of have to see how he follows through here. But
yeah, I mean, it was such an interesting start to the event. You know, like with the first round scores being so low, and knowing, you know, getting past 3 ball at 41, you were kind of thinking, you know, maybe this is a weekend where it could be anyone's game. But things tightened up really quickly by the second qualifying round.
Yeah, so I can see him kind of dancing around in the boats down there. I think we've got Will Asher here ready to go for an interview. We're going to want to throw it over to Rick real quick and see what Will has to say.
5-time world champion Will Asher. Will, it was a good run tonight.
Yeah, you know, I was happy with it. We're out here in Belacqua, Sacramento, and it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but you know, the competition's tough, man, these days.
Okay, now Freddie Winter's big-time competition. What was the key today between the 2 of you?
I mean, he put up a solid score. He got 3 at 41. I had to go out there and I had to get a piece of 4. So for me, it's just got to commit 100%. I committed, didn't get quite what I wanted, but you know, I put it all on the table. I didn't quit.
How good are conditions out there? Obviously, the competition is good, but conditions as well?
Conditions are perfect. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better competition lake for us. I mean, this is what we dream about. This is where we want to have competitions. Yeah, can't ask for much more.
All right, 5-time champion. You'll be back again soon, I'm sure.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
All right, thanks, Will Asher. Thanks for.
Okay, thanks, Rick and Will there. Obviously, Will a little frustrated. You know, we had a quick second to talk to them there where they're finishing up the interview with Debbie, and he felt like he was where he needed to be into that second buoy.
Exactly. He kind of reiterated what, you know, you and I both felt we had seen on the water. Came in the 2-ball tight rope, high on the boat, lots of space, over his feet, ready to go, and you know, he's you know, we're talking about how these guys know the second they make a mistake. Will came in and scratching his head.
Yeah, well, exactly, and I think you know, he made a comment as I sat here yesterday with John, and we watched the first round, which you referred to or referenced that you know, some of the scores weren't as high as we wanted to, but one of the things that we saw throughout yesterday, or I felt like that I saw, was because of the shallower lake, I felt like I was seeing guys either overturn, as we saw what happened to Will, or they were coming into these buoys, and I would see them check out of a turn. They were, again, as you're saying, they're feeling something as they're coming into the apex. They feel the ski getting a little loose, and we'd see them jump on the tail. And, you know, again, once you pressure a ski, it wants to stop turning and start tracking. And we'd see them track out of the turn with really not the angle that they wanted. And I think with Will there at 41, again, he had the space that he needed. He didn't feel like he had excessive speed, but he was slow coming off 1, and I think he came into 2 and had no choice but to fully commit. Yeah. And when he did, it didn't quite hold.
Yeah, you know, definitely, and I can attest to that too. You know, both of the qualifying rounds yesterday I had trouble at 39, and it was, you know, I felt like I was early. I felt like I was in sync, but I could feel pressure. I could feel pressure on the front of my ski that was making me shy away, making me, you know, like we talked about Freddie Winter's 5-ball, was making me go into more of a neutral kind of guarded stance.
Right.
And it just doesn't work at 39.
Yeah. So, okay, well, we are running the boat through. For those of you at home, the reason we do that is we want to make sure that we give everybody the same conditions. And since the second skier is going to ski in a situation where the boat has run down and ruffled up the water a little bit, if you will, before we pull the first skier off the dock, we run what we call a simulation pass, and the boat goes down and back, gives the water that chance to kind of travel in, hit the embankments, and go out. Again, as we've already spoken, not really that critical here at a world record capable site here. We've already seen 2 attempts on the world record length this weekend, but you know what? You just do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yep.
It calms everybody's mind out there and just kind of sets it up to be an even playing field for everybody.
Yep.
But
so we're gonna have our final matchup. We've sat through these 8 to 4 to now to the final 2, and we've seen some of the best skiers in the world get knocked out, and here we are, Nate Smith, world record holder, and Freddie Winter, the most talked about young slalom skier on the Pro Tour right now.
Well, I think that when the last couple of years, Nate has literally been skiing at a level similar to what we've seen this weekend, where he's running 41 when other guys are struggling to get to 3, and turning those last 3 buoys. And really, it's not so much what he's doing at the end of the course at 41. It is literally his gates and his start that is separating him. But all of a sudden, over the last 12 months, Freddie Winter has been that most talked about guy because he's the only guy, really, who's stepped up and been running the 41 a little more consistently in tournaments, and is really kind of pushing Nate at some of the earlier tournaments this year. So these two have kind of become that rivalry, if you will, at least in this season. Obviously a Will Asher who comes in here as our 3rd seed, certainly not out of the conversation. I mean, he's Will Asher. He's always in the conversation. But really looking back on it, these two have kind of been in that heavyweight battle at the end of the event.
It began about 13 months ago. It was a record tournament, which, if you're not really familiar with what that means, it means it's not a pro event. There's pro skiers there, but they're there just skiing for seeding, trying to alter the world ranking list,
right.
get their name higher up on the list. And it was at a contest in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at Bennett's ski school. And the week before, Jay Bennett called me, said, asked me if I was coming. I said I thought so. He said, "Get your butt over here. It's skiing great." And he said, "Fred Winter is going to run 41. He's been here all week, and he's run it every single day." And sure enough, that weekend he ran the first round. He ran, I think, 5. The next round he ran 5.5, fell around 6 ball, and before the weekend was done, he became the 8th person in the history of this sport to run a full pass at 41.
Yeah. And since has done it a number of times. Yeah,
yes.
He's done it when it matters. So here we go. We're on the water. We got Nate Smith coming in, 35 off, 12-meter rope. So he's got a half a meter rope that reaches outside the buoy. Sounds like a lot. It's not. It's incredibly hard pass, and these guys are going to start there. But, Nate has been on key today. Yep. He has not had a bobble. He has not had a slip. And but we're in our third round of skiing here in, roughly an hour?
Yep.
So, does fatigue start to play in a little bit here? Mentally,
maybe,
does he?
Maybe, but you brought up something that maybe takes me back to that last 41 where we saw him inexplicably go inside 5 ball. Because it's Nate and because he's always gunning for a world record, the thought that maybe that he just sort of pulled up at 4 ball, didn't want to take the abuse of trying to finish that pass. That might have been a little bit of self-preservation strategy, leaving himself fresh for this round.
Well, that's a good point. And we look at when we talk about strategy, we look at the fact that again, Nate being the top seed chose to come out first. So whatever he runs, Freddie's got to beat him. If they actually in the finals, if they tie, do they run it off? I don't think so. I think this is still a straight situation.
That often is the scenario. I believe this weekend. You still need that quarter point.
Freddie's got to beat him.
And likely, there's some more passes to come, but likely we're talking about a quarter point at 41 off, which is the difference often between being number 1 in the world and being, outside of the top 10.
Yeah. And interestingly here, Freddie choosing the yellow boat. Nate has not run 41 this weekend behind the red boat, although we're looking at how he was running that last one, kind of thinking that possibly he could have run it. Although, I got to be honest with you, from a strategy standpoint, with Joel Howley coming out, someone who had been to 5-ball, I think Nate just came up short, because I think Nate would have not left any door open to a guy who's been to 5-ball before. So
yeah, you could be right.
I think Freddie maybe is sitting on the dock, looking at that, probably feels the way I do about it, and says, "Hey, he hasn't run it behind the red boat yet. Let's try that, and let's get myself out there in the mix."
And what's really rare about what we're watching right now is Freddie Winter. He left the dock. He warmed up at his 35 off, but he left the dock. He put his boots on for this round with every intention of running 41, knowing that he's going to have to do it.
Yeah.
And that's it's incremental advancements in the last couple of years, but that's where Nate has brought us in the last 2 years. Where if you're paired up against him, it's not like 5 years ago where you better run 39. It's you better be ready to run 41.
Yeah, it's these guys are champions. They all want a shot at taking him down, but quite honestly, when they look at the way that bracket works out, they're all kind of hoping that their opportunity to take him down is in the finals, not in one of those early rounds, so they can get a little bigger check if they don't get the job done. But here we go, Nate Smith, 38 off, been just solid and on pace really all weekend. The first round, I hate to say it this way, we only saw him run 2.5 at 41. But really since then has turned the heat up right there. Very nice, smooth pass.
Yep, great pass. And what you're going to see, more geared towards our local Sacramento viewers, maybe, or some of our Wakecast viewers who don't get to watch this level of slalom all the time. You're going to notice that Nate Smith looks like he's doing very little.
Yeah.
Even if he has a little bobble in the turn, he's going to quickly get back into that perfect, powerful position, and he never looks like he's working hard. We're going to see Freddie Winter, who, while incredibly efficient and has a really an effective style of his own, he comes out more on the gas than Nate does to begin with. He looks like he's just more aggressive right from the start.
Well, if you stood these two gentlemen on the shore and I asked you which one of these guys skis with relying more on strength, 99,000 times in a row, you're going to say Freddie.
Yeah.
He is the bigger guy. He looks like he, could wrestle a bull. He is just a naturally strong guy, and he's going to ski with his strength, which is his strength.
Yeah.
Nate is going to do it a different way, and I think that's what has, again, evolved the sport and opened everybody's eyes. Freddie's trying to find that mix to be there week in and week out, and so far he's done a great job of it.
Absolutely, and what we're watching is 195 pounds versus probably 160 pounds.
Exactly. A little deep there out of 2-ball, but again, Freddie just relies on his strength, holds on tight. Little check turn at 5 there. Yeah. I enjoy talking with Freddie about his skiing. He's not guarded about what he's feeling, about what he's saying. You get a real, an instantaneously. He's wearing his emotions on his sleeve, and it's refreshing to kind of get that. And whereas Nate, whether he doesn't have the highs and lows, his peaks and valleys seem to be a little lower, if you will, because of his consistency.
Yep.
But with him, it's more internalized, I think. But again, with both of these guys, it's always about them, the things they can do better. It's really never about my equipment's not good enough, or that driver didn't do a job right. They put it all back in on them, which is important, and I think that speaks to why they're as good as they are.
Absolutely.
Quick question for you. Here on the ends, we're going to drop the two guys down. They're actually, for about 35 seconds, they're sitting there next to each other. Is there a little chatter going on? Do they talk? Is it silent?
It's going to depend on the competitors. I would guess these two would have a few words for each other, but they're not going to be. Neither one of these skiers are the type of guys that's going to try and get in the other's head.
Yeah.
They might say look good or whatever, but they're going to be pretty quiet.
So no trash talking going on.
Not out of these two.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Nate Smith, 39.5 off. For all intents and purposes, it's a must run, and he's on pace. Not quite as smooth and settled in maybe as the earlier rounds, but wow.
Yeah. With Nate, like with all great athletes, you're almost looking for the flaw. You're almost looking for LeBron to miss his jump, or it's the best of the best. So, we study Nate maybe with through a little different lens than we might.
We certainly
might
hold him
average
to a higher standard.
Yeah,
you're right. and still maybe one of the cleanest 39s. If we take everybody else in the field, probably still one of the cleanest 39s we've seen all weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, measuring himself against himself, maybe not as clean as he's been. But again, you know, I kind of call it doing the Etch-a-Sketch on the end. Anywhere he felt a bobble or felt a little, you know, off, it doesn't matter. 6 is 6. The next pass is a clean start, and he'll come in with a fresh mark.
Yeah, and what's going to happen is he's going to evaluate. Maybe, you know, we saw him have to feel the need to rotate in at looked like 3 ball. He had to rotate his upper body a little bit, meaning he lost tension on the rope for whatever reason. He's going to evaluate. He's going to recognize exactly what that reason is, and the chance of him repeating that mistake is 0.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
There might be a different mistake, but it's not going to be that one.
Right. So here we go. We said that for Nate, it was, for all intents and purposes, it was a must run. Now we're bringing Freddie Winter in. It is a must run. This is for the championship. This is for the big check. This is for the title. This is for the elite points. These top 2 guys who've been battling it out all year. We have $20,000 in cash prize for the men's slalom skiers, and I guarantee you these 2 guys want to bring the big check. We are having a little bit of a moment here. I'm trying to get confirmation on what the situation may be.
So Freddie is hopping in the boat after that clean 39 by Nate. So there could be a few different things going on now. There could be, you know, the judges might be reviewing video. There's an outside chance that there is a technical issue with one of the boats. It's not likely, but we're waiting for word right now. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was guessing. They were just taking a second, a third, maybe a fourth look at Nate Smith's entrance gates.
Entrance gates, yeah. Now, and the reason that's important is because if Nate, the reason for the delay, you might be thinking at home, why not go ahead and pull Freddie through and see what happens? Well, if Nate missed his gates, Freddie would need exactly a quarter of a buoy, period, to it. So he might take his gates, go right through the middle, get the quarter buoy, take the title, versus now we're back to has to run the pass, so he's going to come in here. Now, the interesting thing is, will that give Nate Smith something to be thinking about down here and maybe change his approach at 41 where he might want to get off that right-hand gate ball a little bit? Will it maybe screw his timing up a little bit coming in at 41?
Maybe, but it's going to be probably just like any other mistake. Self-evaluate and then just rectify the situation.
Yeah. There's that Freddie.
Yep, that's
Freddie
safe on 5, man.
Yeah.
But he was, you know, he was so high on the boat and he was so ahead of the game at 5 ball that looked potentially devastating. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Okay, so if we go back to our earlier statement, not the cleanest 39 we've seen Nate run, I would conversely with Freddie, it was the cleanest 39 we've seen.
Yep.
Now, knowing what we now know about that Nate's gates were a little close, that may have been part of what, you know, it kind of screwed up Nate's finish through the you know, he may have had to let up a little bit to make sure he made those gates. So that may have been what was in play there. And so as you're saying, maybe it's less about evaluating, I don't want to be on that right-hand gate ball versus, hey, I don't want to be on that right-hand gate ball so that I can finish stronger. This is 41. I'm going to have to power through.
Yeah, you know, through those entrance gates, you know, like, you always have a good idea whether you made them or whether you didn't make them. If you hit them, and the buoy itself moves, then you're kind of open to to a subjective call by the judges.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
I know from experience what happens is you come into one ball and you have that moment of did I or didn't I.
Well, and for our viewers at home, we have cameras actually set up on little towers on the other side of the lake. That is where these guys are coming in, similar to the view that you're going to see here, but actually at a better angle, so that they can check those gates and make sure that the skiers do in fact go through these 2 red buoys right here. All right, here we go. Nate Smith has got a start on this pass, and he does not look rushed, and I'll guarantee you he doesn't come up short at 5 ball.
You know, that was so that's the same mistake he made in the previous round, where he was early, but he moved through that edge change too abruptly. Like he didn't carry his speed going out. He came right into the buoy, and I was shocked. That pass was looking really good.
I am at a total loss because this is as clean of a start at 41 as I may have ever have seen him. You know, we lose him for a little bit right there, but that's right there. Perfect.
That's, you know, and it's 5 at 41. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. But that's just not a move you would ever see out of Nate Smith. Not on that side of the course, and not when he's that early.
No.
Now.
So here we go. Freddie Winter is somebody who is more than capable of getting to the 6 buoy at 41, but he hasn't really scared 4-ball yet this weekend.
But this is what Freddie, when Freddie went to bed last night, this is what he was waiting for. He was waiting to see Nate Smith, and he was waiting to run 41 in a pro event in front of the Sacramento crowd.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So if he was going to script it, this is what he was hungry for.
Well, and this is, he's at a point now where you just lay everything down. This isn't about, do I stand up at 3? No. You lay it all down and you go for it. So this is going to be his best shot all the way through. Okay, there's a 1-ball. Good out of 2. Stood up a little bit at 3. Just inside of 4. I'll tell you what, coming into 2 and really out of 2, I thought we were going to have a battle.
Yes. And I was thinking to myself as he came into 3 is that if anyone doesn't need a perfect 3-ball, it's Freddie.
Yeah, but he needed a little bit more, obviously, than what he got there. And unfortunately, from where we're sitting here, both from the camera angle, but actually where you and I are physically sitting at the same camera angle, we can't see what was missed there to get to that 4th buoy. But you know what, incredible skiing again, getting right up there with one of the higher scores of the weekend. Congratulations to Nate Smith. Absolutely incredible skiing. He has been, throughout the weekend, the lone man that just kept getting to the deep end of 41 or running it, and really kind of proved to be the best skier all weekend. But you just don't ever count out Freddie Winter, or, Will Asher, or really any of these guys given that chance to get through the pass. So we're going to Nate, obviously, after running his pass, they're going to bring him here down in front of the crowd here in a red boat. The Correct Craft 200. Actually, they got Freddie. They got them both in there, so we get a chance to see them in the boat there together. Big smile on both their faces. And, I had a chance to actually do some commentating yesterday with Freddie, and Nate was out a little bit earlier due to his first round not being as strong. And so Nate was skiing, and, Freddie, he was legitimately respectful to Nate and his capabilities. There was no, sometimes guys will say the right thing, but it tastes like dirt in their mouth. They got to spit after they say. That's one of the things I've been really impressed with Freddie is again, as I said, he kind of wears his emotions on his sleeve. He is legitimately respectful to everybody's abilities, everybody's talents, and I think that that's one of the things that his sponsors, with Mastercraft and Monte Carlo skis. I think that's one of the things they truly enjoy about him is they're having that opportunity to have a guy that's not only an incredible athlete, but he's going to be a great ambassador to the sport. And Nate Smith as well has stepped into that role. And Nate came in, putting pressure on guys like Will Asher, putting pressure on Chris Parrish, and really all the way along has been extremely respectful to those guys and their abilities as well. So it's a good pairing and a good final.
And that's why, as an athlete, it's hard to have anything but, it's almost like we're grateful that someone like this came along, because he's not only, he not only is defining his career, he helped us sort of, guys like me at the latter parts of my career sort of helped reshape what I thought was possible.
Right.
Where like 3, 4, 5 years ago, we were all looking just to get a piece of 2-ball 41, maybe get over to 3 because you're going to make the cut. We saw Nate come in, start running 41 with ease, and then all of a sudden, guys like me, we're at 3-ball, we're at 4-ball.
Right.
It's given us a new lease on.
And it's amazing the mental aspect of the sport and how it can change, and it can change just like that. It wasn't necessarily some huge technological advancement that all you guys figured out. It was literally a mental comfort and seeing it done. I mean, we've seen that in all sports. Can't run a 4-minute mile. Oh wait, yes you can.
Yes, you can.
And then more than one guy can. And so it's amazing to see it happen here. We've got Rick here with our number 2 athlete, Freddie Winter here, and we're going to as we're getting them here together.
And it's looking at this is a pairing that we're going to see for many events to come. There's not an old guard standing in the top 2 spots, which is incredible. We have youth has not only just started to emerge, but I mean they're owning it right now.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, for 2 young guys to be at the top of the sport right now is showing, a long future for probably both these careers. So hey, we're going to throw it over to John Horton, who's with Freddie Winter, and get a quick word from them.
At the start, could have done a little bit better. I think, maybe, could have just kept my nerve a little bit. But there it is, and I've not been skiing as well as I'd like. So, certainly I'll take that, and I, love being here and looking forward to next year.
So you had a couple scores in the 41 this weekend. So it was 3 in the final round. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've had three threes, a 2, and a 1.
That's a pretty fantastic weekend. I know you want to run it, and I know you want to be the champion, but that's fantastic skiing.
Yeah, it's kind of near enough where I'm at right now, and I'm working on it, and I've got a new ski. I've only been on this for a few sets, and it's working absolute wonders. So I'm going to work on it for the next month or 2. We got Worlds in a couple months, so I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get further than 3, and I'm excited, really excited.
All right, man. Well, I'm happy for you. Congratulations, great skiing. Look forward to watching, seeing what happens at Worlds.
Thanks a lot. See you later.
All right, Freddie Winter, and then our champion, Mr. Nate Smith. Nate, I want to pretend this is a surprise. We've never seen you win again. I'm sorry, but you did it again.
Yeah, great tournament as always out here. Greg and Debbie putting on a great event, and Nautique, stepping up and being the sponsor here. But a lot of great competition. A lot of guys ran a lot of big scores, and that final right there, that was one of the toughest finals I've been in a very long time.
Well, let me take you back a level. What did you think when you were sitting on the dock and you were watching Asher and Winter battling it out?
Well, the last 2, that's what I was telling Regina on the dock, is that this is kind of like the the final before the final. I knew that I was going to get either Asher or Freddie Winter, and both those guys are tough competitors. So, a little nervous, but I just go out and do my thing, and I knew either one of those guys was going to bring a big score.
Now you won it. You crushed it by a couple of balls, but deep down, when you didn't get back to 6 ball at 41, was there a point of, oh gosh, we know Freddie can do this?
Well, I knew that was a big score, and I felt comfortable with it, but not getting over to 6 was definitely there was a thought there. I'm in the water watching Freddie come at 41. Good 1 ball, good 2. He's out at 3, turned it. I knew going over to 4 he was going to attempt to turn 4, but just came short. So yeah, I was a little worried not running 41, because I know he's the other guy out there that you never know when he's going to pop out at 41.
Well, you're the man, and you crushed it, and you passed another milestone this weekend, didn't you?
What's that?
How many lifetime 41s?
I think that's 81.
81 lifetime 41s. That is astounding.
Yeah, I was just going through some different numbers the other day, just thinking about Andy Mapple and the different tournaments he's won, and I'm nowhere near where he's ever where he's been. So
that's just longevity, my friend. You just stick with it.
Yeah, but he was a legend in the sport. So
all right, well, thank you again. Before we go, thank your biggest sponsor.
Yeah, thanks. To Nautique Boats and D3 Skis. The rest of the sponsors on my ski, and Masterline and Eagle.
Well, this is a Nautique event. We could not have done this event. We couldn't have run this event without the Nautique 200, and I guess you're pretty happy to see that boat on the water.
Yeah, I was definitely happy when this was an all Nautique event this year. I know last year we went back and forth a little bit, but being able to have the same boat out there and not worry whether you're first or second, skiing the same boat every time, it's the last thing I had to think about is where the boat was and what it was going to do.
All right, fantastic. Hey, good luck at U.S. Open and Worlds later on this year. All right, thank you.
Okay, so Trent, we heard from our winners there, Nate Smith and Freddie Winter there in our final seating. We're going to try to quickly move along here and get to the Czech presentation, if you will. But really an incredible weekend and a tell. Again, normally this is kind of a wrap-up event for the slalom skiers, but this year the U.S. Open coming up in October that we have to look forward to, the World Championships down in Mexico, and if you're looking through this field, if you're Freddie Winter and you're Nate Smith, Will Asher, you're looking at it in terms of, hey, I'm skiing strong, I'm going into these other events with some confidence. Obviously Joel Howley is going to be in that group, our actual third place finisher, but if you're one of the other 26 guys, what's your takeaway from this weekend? What do you think? Who do you think walks away from this weekend feeling like, hey, I've got some confidence and some momentum going into these final 2 events? who do you think is going to have to go home a little bit and maybe put on their thinking cap?
Yeah, well, and you're not accustomed to being in this scenario, being one of the top jumpers of all time. But for guys like me, a few of the other guys who missed the event, it can go one of two ways. You can start doubting what you've been doing Monday to Thursday, or you can go home, get your ski back out and just focus on the next event. And that's how you arrive from the guy in 15th to the guy in 5th.
Yeah.
Because there's, with the exception of a few guys, we'll say Nate, Monday to Thursday, those top 30, man, those guys they're pretty neck and neck.
Well, that's absolutely. I mean, it is I mean, again, if we go back and look at the difference between, say, spots, the 8th place spot that got in, and take that all the way back to about the 12th place spot, it was like on a cumulative average, less than half a buoy. I mean, these guys are piled up on top of each other, and all of a sudden, you get one extra buoy or one extra half a buoy, and the whole game changes for everybody. So, I've always had a tremendous, your guys' resiliency to deal with, hey, I'm in this weekend, and I'm out, and it's literally a quarter of a buoy swing one way or the other. Yeah, short memory is incredibly difficult. But, I think as we're going into this next event at the U.S. Open, again, how is it? We're getting long in the year. We're going, it's late in the year. Some of these guys are, we've had some guys that are coming off injuries. We've got some guys that are getting injured. What's your mark there?
All right, we're gonna go just do we have a few announcements to make, and then we're gonna go right to the award ceremony.
Okay.
We're just getting used to these guys, and the weekend's over.
Good. Well, I think we probably run more interviews in your show in the last several hours than you did previously, obviously. Yeah. Which helps out our TV audience and spices it up with great.
Yeah, well, that was a good final, huh?
That was pretty good.
That's pretty good. The Freddie Asher thing. Kind of like the Rodriguez's commentary on it. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good head-to-head.
Yeah, that was tight.
Cool.
It was tight.
Yeah. And they're a good match, right? I feel bad for Will,
Me too, but it was like, that was cool. That was really cool.
It's insanely tight. Everybody's on top of each other.
And poor Winter, he just changed skis. He doesn't quite work that one out.
Yeah, whatever might.
Freddie. Oh. He wrapped the rope around his favorite ski. Like the rope went around the tip.
Standing as the absolute and undisputed ruler, the Ski Nautique 200 closed bow upholds a reputation built by the rich history of Ski Nautique boats that have come before it. A hardcore 3-event purist, the 200 has clearly proven that it is the flagship boat of the entire water ski industry. It's more than just the sum of its parts. Groundbreaking hull design, cutting-edge gel lines, blink and hydrogate technologies, and world record-setting personality. This boat tells the story of our heritage. The 200 is the perfect blend of a rich and decorated history of all things nautique. Put yourself behind the Ski Nautique 200 closed bow and you'll just get it. This is a dedicated 3-event boat that excites all hardcore tournament water skiers around the globe. The weights are the softest and the flattest. The pole has unrivaled reliability. Personal bests are shattered every day. An unprecedented 17 world records have been set. Decades of research and experience have been poured into this hull, so that the split second you need this boat to be at its absolute best, it will be better than that. The performance of this boat was designed with a purpose, to stand apart and to put you on the top of the podium. From this boat forward, there is no going back. From our exclusive optimal surface control hull to our patented Hydrogate with Sport Shift to the integrated link system, Nautique can be sure that every skier that takes to the water behind the closed bow will enjoy the ride of their life. And with over 15 hull colors to choose from, personalizing the look of your boat is as certain as the custom ride behind it. The Ski Nautique 200 closed bow is exclusivity in its most inclusive form. In the years past, the words spacious and storage couldn't coexist with the words closed bow. However, the Ski Nautique 200 has changed that. With the sleek, roomy storage compartments and the Tournament Love Seat extension, there is plenty of room for your gear and your crew. Our exclusive stitching, comfortable upholstery, and stunning primary seating color options add to the enjoyment of your time spent inside the boat. The Ski Nautique 200 closed bow, perfection delivered. The Ski Nautique 200 open bow is the only boat in the industry that gratifies both the renowned world record holder and the weekend water ski enthusiast on the lake with a group of friends. Identical in weight and weight to our closed bow, this hull performs all three events world record flawlessly. If your ride takes place inside the boat, there's an amazing feeling of endless space. The Ski Nautique 200 open bow has a place for everything and puts everything in the right place. So whether your ride consists of a sweet 38 off pass or a view of all the action, it will just take one ride to fall in love. The Ski Nautique 200 open bow is exceptional in every form. This is the only open bow on the market that can claim an unprecedented 17 world records, and the exceptional doesn't end with the hull. The driver's helm is designed with one purpose: to stand apart. And the tracking and steering are unmatched, creating endless performance opportunities for the skier behind you. There is only one word to describe the performance of the Ski Nautique 200 open bow: perfected. The hull and exterior of the Ski Nautique 200 open bow doesn't just exhilarate, it dominates. Nautique has spent decades fine-tuning the hull for world record performances while simultaneously creating looks that are inspiring. With a single glance, you'll know whether our more classic or progressive gel line is the right look for you. And you may customize your boat with our extensive list of eye-catching colors, including 4 new bold options for 2015. The Ski Nautique 200 open bow is bliss built to order. At Nautique, we pay more attention to the details. Our streamlined storage is sleek yet abundant. The upholstery is exquisite, sporty, and perfect down to the last detail while offering maximum levels of comfort. The high-quality, high-tech materials are not only the longest lasting, but our seams harmonize with the interior design. When you know your strengths, it is easy to acquire new ones. The Ski Nautique 200 open bow. It only takes one ride to fall in love.